Welcome back to Derailed. Jake Schyvinck and JJ Lahey in the house. We are going to have a blast tonight. Thank you for joining us. So listen, first of all, I want to apologize because my audio last couple of weeks was not up to the acceptable quality. And I hope tonight it's going to go better. I got a new mic. We'll see. Early tests for the last half hour were inconclusive whether it was going to work or not. So, Jake, I say, because we don't have a ton of people in the chat yet, I say we hop into a little bit of Lion stuff and then see where we go from there.
I was going to say, we're going to lion tame. We're going to talk about the Packers lion taming. You were lion taming audio. So there's been a lot of that going around right now. So, yeah, let's dive in.
Facing adversity, but we will prevail, whether we have Jordan Love or Malik Willis under center. All right, so this past week, pretty good game overall. I think you and I on the pod last week were pretty quick to warn people not to underestimate what Jacksonville was going to bring to the table.
Yeah.
As I could see on Twitter, there's a lot of people who don't listen to our podcast. And there's a lot of hand wringing and frustration. And I'm going, guys, do you not watch the Jags play anybody else this year? And I do think I do think that other Packers podcasters fed into this a little bit by completely dismissing the Jags all week. Heard one podcast I tuned into said, like, I don't even want to talk about the Jags. Like, there's no question whether or not we're going to win, obviously. And I was like, ooh, dude, don't set people up like that. Like,
No.
The Jags have lost every game by like 2 points the whole year. Like, we absolutely could lose this game if we don't play super clean. So I think your average fan watching the game and commenting on social media was a little bit more surprised than Derail listeners by what was going on. And when you go in there thinking you're going to steamroll a bad team, and you don't realize that you're not playing a bad team, it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us, the Lions are a very good team. I would say I think they're probably the best team in the NFL at the moment. Jake, I don't know what you think about that, but it was it is not going to be an easy task to knock down the Lions this week.
No, I do think they're the best team in the league right now. Even over the undefeated Chiefs, which, some people being like, well, the Chiefs never, that's that power rankings thing is like you're putting a team over a team who hasn't lost. Yes, because they have played better than the team who has zero losses to this point. Like the Lions are, I think, first in DVOA. First in DVOA, fourth in offensive DVOA, third in defensive DVOA. They are sixth on defense in terms of EPA per play allowed. And I believe on offense, they are fourth. Yeah. So, I mean, and I believe they're top 10 in dropback EPA. So this team is just, they're good everywhere. There isn't really, I think there is a gaping hole that I think we'll kind of talk about, obviously, but I do think, if Aiden Hutchinson wasn't hurt, this is just a team that you just don't want to run into right now, if you can help it. But that's where the schedule is. Green Bay is going to have a tough task on their hands, I think, with or without Jordan Love. So, yeah, buckle up. Buckle up. It's going to be quite a week.
Yeah, what did you think about the Lions' defensive line performance these last 2 weeks without Aiden?
I think it's fine. I think they have enough without him to pretty much control things on the interior of the trenches, right? I think McNeil and those guys do a really nice job limiting a lot of early down success on the ground. And so I think when you're attacking, the Lions, I think it's going to a lot be about running at the edges. Which is something that Green Bay has done well against Dallas when that is called for it. So I do think there is, still a bunch of talent there that's getting the job done, but I do think as a unit, as a pass rush unit, I do think obviously they're missing the closer, right? They're missing their version of basically Mariano Rivera out there, right? Like the Steelers have him still. That's TJ Watt, right? The Steelers have that guy who goes, yeah, we need something. Can you go do that? And he's got it, right? And the Lions had that with Hutchinson, and I'm sure that they're on the phones right now. I'm sure they've been on the phones. So would it shock me if they add somebody before Tuesday? No, not at all. But yeah, I think as a pass rush unit, I think Green Bay is going to be in a really nice spot because I do think not having their kind of ace pilot out there wreaking havoc wherever he's lined up is huge. So I think it's going to present an opportunity, especially for the running backs. When Green Bay can kind of run off tackle, but I still think it's a pretty strong unit.
Yeah, you called out Lim McNeil by name. He's obviously the wrecking force on that defensive line right now with Aiden Hutchinson being out. The only edge who's kind of really stepping up at the moment is Isaiah Thomas. James Houston's not having the season that I think a lot of us expected he would. I thought he's pretty darn good the last 2 years. I thought he was going to build on that, and he's really struggled this year. Not really sure what's going on with that.
Is he playing off injury? Or was that last year? Because I'm wondering if it's a ramp up post injury that's he's kind of working back from.
Trying to see here. Yeah, so he played in weeks 2, 4, 7, and 8. And he had a total of 45 snaps across those 4 games.
Okay.
So he's been battling something for sure.
Yeah.
The game he played the most snaps in this year was week 4, Seattle. Played 14 snaps in that game. He had a 29.5 PFF grade.
Yikes.
So, that's not great. On 45 snaps, he's managed to get penalized twice already. So okay. I'm thinking there's some rust there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Which is why I'm sure they're on the phones. I figured Uche was somebody they might be interested in if they were looking for designated pass rushers only. Obviously, the Chiefs got there first. But yeah, we'll see. I can't imagine they're not looking at Clowney, looking at Zadarius Smith, among others, right, among the elite names, which have a harder time seeing how they'll be moved, just probably based on price alone. But the Lions they're gonna turn over every rock, I am sure, over the next 5 days or so, to see what they can get.
What's the name of that one crummy edge rusher who has been playing his way through every team in the league? Super overrated guy. He was with the Vikings. He was with the Bears last year. What's the guy's name?
Ngakoue,
yeah. Come on. Yannick Ngakoue to Detroit. Let's make it happen.
I think he signed somewhere.
He might be back in Chicago.
I want to say he's back in Baltimore.
Yannick Ngakoue currently for playing in Baltimore.
Boom.
Let me see if he's on the active roster.
I'm not sure, but I know
he is on the practice squad.
Okay.
No, he was signed to the active roster 2 weeks ago, October 15th.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, I remember him getting signed. Yeah. So,
speaking of filling needs by calling around to their teams, what did you think about the Vikings picking up Cam Robinson, filling their left tackle hole?
I thought it was interesting because, I think obviously you start 5-0, you kind of get labeled as the contender, and you're like, wow, we might be able to do this now. Off of back-to-back losses, Rams one was a little more stunning just because of the margin. But I mean, if they're still all in on it as a contender, I guess sure. Why not? I mean, Jacksonville's selling. But I don't think as far as Minnesota goes, if they kind of do what they did in 2016, I think it was, when they started 5-0 and finished 8-8. If they don't finish particularly well, they exit the first round. I don't think they're going to be devastated, because this was kind of labeled the throwaway year anyway. It was kind of like,
Right.
okay, well, we'll see what Darnold's got, right? Darnold's here. We signed him. This is, get a good look. Obviously, the whole operation is going to be built around, McCarthy in future years. So if they lose out this year, I don't think they're going to be, devastated. But, I mean, as long as they're in the race, I can understand going to, at least find some help anywhere at left tackle, because Darisaw is pretty nearly impossible to replace.
He's one of the best left tackles in the NFL.
Yeah, and so, and you're not going to find, looking around the league, you're not going to find like, hey, let's trade for like a super quality left tackle. Just nobody's gonna let that go. Like, and so Cam Robinson, I think, has had just a lot of ups and downs in terms of his play. I can see why they're kicking the tires. But it's, as I said, it's just the above replacement that Darisaw gives you is just, it's absolutely sucks for them to lose him. So yeah, I mean, they're trying to patchwork it, trying to keep up pace. I get it from some standpoint.
Go back to the Lions again. So the Lions, as I said, they're my number one team in the NFL right now. I have the Packers as the 8th best team in the league through the first, how many weeks were 8 games.
That is what DVOA has as well.
Well, I'm basing it off of a combination of DVOA and ELO, so makes sense.
Okay. There you go.
Detroit should be favored in this game anywhere from 3 to 14 points. Now, Detroit has been playing worse on the road. So if you use home and away scores, you're looking at more like a 6-point favorite for Detroit.
Yeah.
But they played well at Lambeau. I think a lot of us still remember last year being so frustrating.
Yeah.
When the stands were full of Lions fans who drove up from Michigan. So I am really hoping that this year, a lot of Packers fans from last year don't sell their tickets.
Yeah, that would be.
I have a feeling
helpful.
We're still going to be pretty upset.
I'm sure
by the amount of Hawaiian blue in the stands.
So I will point this out just for, because you said, Lions on the road. So the Lions play 3 games outdoors this year. I'm not kidding. That's it. That's all they'll play. This will be the first one that they play outdoors this season. The other 2 are Chicago and San Francisco a lot later. So it is kind of wild that they are in the Dome all the time, essentially. Their road games so far, Cardinals, Cowboys, Vikings. Nice. Not bad.
Most of our games
Not
this
bad.
year have been outdoors, haven't they?
Yeah. I think so. Has there been one indoors yet? Now I'm like going through all the games. I can't. Outside. Oh, Rams. Rams on the road.
Games. Rams was the Titans play outdoors, right?
Yes. Yeah. So the Rams is the only
Brazil,
one.
Brazil won. Did they have a roof in Brazil? I think that was.
I don't think. Was it?
Now I got to look it up. Brazil NFL Stadium. I can't remember the name of the stadium.
Great question.
The Corinthians Stadium. It has. Looks like it has a retractable roof.
Okay, I don't remember if they retracted it or not. I feel like they
Here's
might
a
have.
picture. Here's a picture of it. It is retracted, but it was a night game. But still, it was a.
Okay.
Yeah, they did retract it at night.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. I don't know why you'd retract it for a night game. I guess just to see the stars.
Maybe. Yeah. But they were on the field, Yeah. Even if
Good
that
one.
so if that one if that one doesn't count as an indoor game, then it will be the exact opposite of what the Lions have. The Lions 14 of 17 indoors, Green Bay 3 of 17 indoors. So, and both of those will be in December, the next two after that Ram one. So, yeah, I very strange for the Lions. Kind of nice when you have that offense to be kind of indoors in the kind of, controllable setting where you can let that offense just kind of tee off. But I do think that offense is built for outdoor stuff as well. Getting to 12, getting to 22, and just kind of bash your face in running the football. Thinking Football on YouTube just did an incredible video on the Lions offense and just using personnel, using angles, using numbers, and obviously their players to pretty much defeat you in any way they want to. They love to bring their entire offense into the box, and they're not afraid to run it in those scenarios because they believe in their line to kind of either displace well enough that you're going to get, plenty of yardage before contact, but also you're going to have the big cutback lanes, or they're going to be able to outflank you and get Gibbs into a gap that lets him cook for 10 to 20 yards at any time. So I encourage everybody who's listening or watching to go check that out, Thinking Football, because it is super good. Now, of course, a guy featured in that video is not going to be playing in this game, right, in Jameson Williams. So that kind of eliminates a little bit of the threat. But Khalif Raymond has still been effective in, some of the gadget touches, but using his speed to get open as well. So they're going to have the full tilt on offense, and not to mention there's just times where they just genuinely do not care, and they will do whatever they feel like doing. Hey, David Montgomery, you want to throw a touchdown? Sure. Do we want to lateral to an offensive lineman? Yeah, we kind of do. So let's do that. Obviously it helps having Penei Sewell, who's probably one of the most athletic offensive linemen we've ever seen. But then they throw hook and ladders in there, right, with their skill players. They legitimately don't care, right? Amon-Ra's throwing a touchdown to Jared Goff this year. They will open up any bag that they would like to defeat you, and that's terrifying. It truly is. It is. And when Goff is playing at the level he's playing at right now, that is also scary, because usually the way to beat this offense is to get Goff in those unfavorable spots. But when you have Montgomery and Gibbs and a line that can displace 2 yards and get that early down success, the entire playbook is still open. So it's tough. The defensive line, man, we've been harping on it. Everybody's been harping on it this year. Boy, it's just not a great spot when you've been struggling on the defensive line to face this team. It is a tough spot to be in. It really is. So they're going to have their hands full on defense. When they can get the obvious passing looks, I don't think they're going to have as much of a problem, right? I think they have the personnel on the back end to handle the St. Browns and the Laportas, right? You don't have to worry about Jameson Williams. So, you get into those comfortable spots, they'll be fine. But it's the bash your face and run game that's going to present the biggest problem.
So we got a couple of chats I want to get to. So Adam Huddle said Bills Lions Super Bowl. Unfortunately, I mean, that's the number 1 and number 2 best teams in the league right now. I think Baltimore looks scary. Chiefs are still the Chiefs.
Yeah.
If I had to put money on it, I would probably say Lions Chiefs at the moment. But
yeah, I could lean that way as well. I think Chiefs at Arrowhead, if they're going to be in that driver's seat for the top seed in the AFC, that's tough. That's tough going there. But yeah, I think that the AFC looks like a 3-headed type of monster right now in terms of who I like, and I think the NFC is a little bit more open. Some teams can get hot. There are teams that are, getting healthy right now. There are teams that are gelling a little bit more right now that I feel like there's potential for more parity in the NFC. More teams could represent. AFC feels like 3. And Pittsburgh fans are not going to be like that. I'm not going to like that. They're not going to like that. But we know your guys' drill, okay? We know what you guys do. Not worried about you.
Adam says the Ravens' defense is questionable. Questionable, but it's still good. I mean, at this point in the year, every team has weaknesses.
Yeah.
I have confidence in the players there. I think that they have enough horses in that stable to get it going.
Yeah, I think corners may be the one, right? They've battled injury, but when they're healthier, Wiggins is a little bit up and down as a rookie, which I think you can expect at the corner position. It's a tough position to play. I still contend Hamilton's awesome. I know he dropped that bad drop of the pick. That ain't going to define him. Seeing how he works and plays, Roquan, right? Like Travis Jones, who I think most people don't talk about very much. I know everybody wants to talk about Madubuike because he had a big year last year and got that contract, but man, Travis Jones at like nose tackle. They, like you said, they have a lot of horses there. I think they can do enough, and I think it's again a new coordinator. He's kind of running his own show, and could be very much a situation like Green Bay's offense last year, right? Where it's like, okay, once they kind of settle in and they see what they can get away with, they see the limitations. We have to get some help here. Like they can in a single game, right? This isn't 17 games, one game. I think they can get after people. You saw what they did to Buffalo, like they said we're gonna put the foot down all night long. So. Yeah, it's with Derrick Henry in there as their closer, right? We kind of talked about Watt being the closer for Pittsburgh and Hutchinson being to have that guy as a closer, that's tough. That's tough for everybody else. So that'll be fun to watch in the AFC.
Tyler Dershel says the game should be a shootout, so I'm thankful Williams isn't playing. Yeah, missing Jameson Williams probably is a pretty good thing. He stretches the field for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that the Packers cornerback situation at the moment, it's a little bit of a liability. I don't know how nervous I am. Adam's next comment directly talks about the corners. Who gets run through worse, Valentine or Stokes? Dude, I don't know if they're going to need to run over those guys with the way that TJ Slayton and Kenny Clark and Colby Wooden have been defending the run.
Yeah, I don't think there's any need for none of that pulling to the perimeter stuff, running the ball. I don't think they need to. Can they condense and run tosses with Gibbs? Sure, yes. And it'll force corners to make plays like that, but I don't know.
You see that play where
it's hard for me when Ben Johnson's just like, I could just run at these guys front seven. Yeah, we're fine. We're comfy. We'll David Montgomery them 30 times. Like it feels like what's going to happen.
Did you see that play this past week where Kenny Clark was unblocked? Everybody else was blocked up. Kenny was unblocked. Comes flying through the hole, and somehow still doesn't get the tackle. I think Trevor kept it on that play. I think that was the sneak. Kenny comes through completely unblocked. Yeah. Nobody touches him, and somehow Trevor just goes like right over him. Should have been a 4-yard loss right there.
Yeah,
he's gonna kick himself this week.
It's gonna be tough. It's Yeah, the defensive line, I'm concerned. You could say I'm concerned. So,
Tyler wants to know: is this the game they finally free Edgerrin Cooper full time? I mean, he won. Was it defensive rookie of the week or defensive player?
I think defensive player of the week. I believe
defensive player of the week,
which is sick,
despite playing like 60% of the snaps. So,
yeah, I don't know.
I'd say we unchain him a little bit. Now, I will say Edgerrin's still. So you love the way he plays. You love the athleticism. You love his downhill tackle.
Yeah. When he's
sometimes
free,
the vision isn't quite there.
Yeah.
So I understand bringing him along at the pace that you think he can handle.
Yeah.
And let him go sit down and watch the tablet a little bit and learn on the job.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Again, the way he runs the seam, and the Tampa looks and the amount of ground he can cover and the hustle and what he does as a blitzer and, when he sees it to have that closing speed. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm trying to think of the player he's reminding me of most right now. You give me some time, we can circle back to it. But It's great to have that type of player. The other type of player you like to have at that position is the guy who's always in the right spot, the guy who is reading things out correctly, the guy who can shed blocks effectively, right? Who can do all that dirty work as well. So having that as a pairing with Cooper is really nice. I think Cooper has, we've said that, I've said this, I think, quite a few times just from last draft cycle. It was like he's got the length to get off blocks. He has that ability when he can do it. The problem is right now is when you watch him arrive at contact sometimes, you're kind of like, what are you doing, buddy? You look like a running back trying to avoid a tackle. It's very weird. So like he has to get to a point where he is playing the sit leverage game, playing with more strength at that and better positioning. And when you get there, that's massive for him. So I think that is still what I'm seeing a little bit more of with him right now. But I mean, when the splash plays that he can make because of the speed and athleticism are phenomenal right now.
I'm trying to get to all these chats because
Yeah.
last week you guys did not succeed in derailing us.
There's too much good football talk going on right now.
There's too much railing going on. Okay,
we're
we
doing
get derailed. This podcast is not called Railed,
Yeah.
though I think Jake wishes it was. So I'm trying to get to you guys, trying to get this chat hopping. We got plenty of people watching right now, so
Yeah.
I think the reason we're not having the chats is because we're too busy yapping about football, and we're
That's
not
probably true.
silly questions. Oh, too old for this.
Too old for this
Yeah.
has arrived. Here we go.
He wants to go to the beach.
This
Love
is
to go
good.
to
This is also good, I will say, from Tyler here. Kwesi been so bad at drafting, he doesn't see the value in picks anymore. Talking about that Cam Robinson trade. Yeah, what do they have right now? Oh, someone tweeted it today what they have. I think they have a first
and
2/5.
2 sixths. Oh, 2/5. Because
2
they got rid
fifths,
of
and
the
then they're
sixth,
gonna
seconds, thirds, fourths. Yeah.
and I think they're going to get a comp pick for Kirk. So there should be 4 picks that they'll enter the draft with. At least that's what it's looking like. We don't know. Maybe they're going to do something else. I don't know before the deadline. But yeah.
I look too old for this. He just always comes in just out of left field. Have y'all seen any of the Terrifier movies? I think Art the Clown would be fantastic on our D line. I've never even heard of Terrifier.
I haven't either. Horror movies and I don't get along. They stress me out.
Yeah. I've seen 5 or 6 ever. And
yeah, I think I've seen.
minutes
Yeah, I can count on one
again.
hand, I think, as well. So I don't know what this is. I've heard. I mean, I could probably name a bunch of them because people talk about them a lot. But like seen, very different story.
Couple of things I wanted to make you guys aware of. We have some new toys we're going to start demoing on the show here. One, we got a call-in number now.
Yeah.
I should put the number on screen. We have a call-in number. You guys can send in voicemails or texts that we can then play on the show. I'm not going to play any this week because we were screwing around with the audio for quite a while before we started, and I just barely got it to where my own mic was going to work. But by next week, I should be able to play the audio here on the stream. But one of the reasons I want to do this is we have regular listeners who can't make it to every single live stream, and they still want to be able to send in questions or comments. So I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to do that throughout the week. So in a second, I'm going to let Jake talk, and while he talks, I'll put the phone number on the screen. But the other thing I want to show you, you may notice in the top corner, we have a QR code. You can scan that and go follow us on any podcast app that you prefer. We'd like to be able to run ads on the podcast to make a little Menendez, a little moolah, and we don't have enough monthly downloads yet to qualify. We're getting close. We have enough episodes, got enough subscribers, but the monthly downloads, I think because the actual live stream is such a draw, I think a lot of people have already heard it by the time it actually shows up in podcast feeds. But especially if you miss any episodes and you still want to go back and listen to it on the podcast feed, that helps us out a lot. So please do that. Okay. Jake, I'm going to let you talk while I put the phone number up on the screen.
Okay. So yeah, tool for this is talking about the Terrifier movies, and saying that there's 3 of them. The third one that came out is the highest grossing unrated film ever. So there you go. That's the film portion of the week, which is great. I just realized the Williams joke, and
I didn't get it. I went back and looked for it. I didn't understand it. Explain it to me.
I think it was a gambling joke. So, or it was, well, now I'm not sure. I thought it was a gambling joke. Maybe Tyler let us know what it is. But Toolfist wants kicker talk.
So did you see that all of our former kickers are getting opportunities around the NFL? Anders Carlson had like 18 fantasy points this past week kicking for the 49ers.
Yeah.
Made me absolutely sick.
And he made extra points, which is a tough scene.
Because guess what? He's not a bad kicker. Guess what? Our long snapper is freaking atrocious. Now, I thank God that we have Brandon McManus right now, because we're not winning these past 2 games without his veteran kicking. All right. So thank you, Brandon. Yeah. I'm kind of relieved that we got rid of the fullback who was kicking for us for the first 6 weeks of the season. Didn't really enjoy having him there. Greg Joseph killing it. Meanwhile, Matt Orzech still comfortably has a job here in Green Bay. I think he has pictures of somebody. Ed Policy, Mark Murphy, Brian Gutekunst, somebody. Rich Bisaccia, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's blackmailing somebody, or he has a loved one tied up in a basement. I don't know. It sure has nothing to do with what he's doing on the football field. That's not why he has a job. Just saying. Okay, rant over.
There needs to be. I'm gonna petition that we put a long snapper film up on this channel this offseason, because it's just, we got to find something. Maybe I got to send some of it over to Goody's office and just be like, hey, like, look, this is like how like long snappers, this is how it looks when like long snapper is snapping, like, and it's just in the zone. Orzech cannot find the zone. He does not know where it is. So that might be something we look into. But yeah, it's interesting. Not to mention Chad Ryland, who came in for a tryout, is now just, no problems crushing it with the Cardinals. So yeah, it seems like, if they've been in Green Bay,
finding
the
quality
kickers
has not been the problem.
No,
they've are useless long snappers, and bringing in quality long snappers has been the problem. I actually really don't understand why we got rid of, what was the name of that tight end who was playing long snapper for us in 2022? What was his name?
Oh, shoot.
He played at like Georgia Tech or Purdue or somewhere.
Shoot.
Tool for this says, to be fair, Anders got demoted. Well, I mean, Jake Moody, like, they drafted him in the 3rd round or a 4th round or something. Like, they want him to be able to play. Jack Coco, thank you, Tool.
That's what it
Jack
was.
Coco. Yeah,
that's right.
Actually, I still see Ed Coco on Packers Twitter all the time still. Nice guy, his dad. Okay, so Dershel says, you guys didn't see the news on Jameson Williams befriending Detroit.
I saw that.
Did see that. And then one of my friends said, to be fair, carrying a firearm in Detroit for protection is the least stupid thing that Jameson has done and got in trouble.
Jameson's going for the trifecta right now. So, and we might be there. We'll see. Which is a real shame, honestly, because everybody was kind of like over it after 2 seasons, especially the Lions fans and obviously people in fantasy football. we're kind of like, well, this is just it. Like, it's never going to happen. And I'm like, I don't know, man. These year 3 breakouts can happen. And he came off the ACL the first year and just kind of let him settle in. What a great start to the season for him. Doing exactly what the Lions need him to do. The Lions have struggled to find, and he's not really an X receiver, but they've struggled to find a boundary receiver who can be a bucket getter when they need him to be a bucket getter. And it was just kind of like, yeah, running, kind of running the stutter goes, running the deep crossers where Goff can hit him in stride and he can take it to the house. Like, he was doing all the right things to make that offense, really stretch teams out defensively. So it just kind of stinks that he seems to just be heading in the wrong direction now because of that. So what's too old for this on here? Young receivers that aren't Green Bay Packers seem to be very smart guys who put themselves. I mean,
can't get mad at Tool for this for saying that. It was such a polite comment. All right, he's being polite.
There's a few, I guess you could say that.
Ian says, is the Lions defense overrated? They struggled early last week against the Titans. Defense only got better when the Lions offense got the game out of hand and Titans handed them turnovers. Thoughts? So it's a good thing to look at. So
Hey,
obviously
they got that elite. Listen, they got the Calvin Ridley bucket getter last week who they just could not cover. And that's Calvin Ridley at his best, by the way. Go ahead.
Well, their coverage and tackling last week was not up to par with what it has been for most of the year. And I do think that the coverage suffered because Aiden Hutchinson wasn't there. Because when you don't have the pass rush, guys have to cover for longer. And I don't think this is a particularly good secondary. I do think that this defense for the Lions can be had. I think you do have to commit to the run and also be effective at throwing the ball. Okay. Yeah. Rocket science, right? You got to run well and pass well to be a good defense. Yeah, well, they're, like we said, it's the number 1 team in the league. So you have to be good at both in order to be good. If they can make you one-dimensional, or if the Packers are doing what they've done the entire season, which is shooting themselves in the foot, making mistakes that, take them out of field goal range, or, all of these third down drops that we keep seeing, or freaking penalties,
red zone.
You clean up the penalties, the third down drops. I think you'll be okay. I really do. I guess we probably should have a Jordan Love, Malik Willis conversation. Yeah. This really was the one question that we got ahead of time on the show was, is Jordan Love going to play? Obviously, we're not going to know until 5 minutes before kickoff. Sounds like
that much is clear.
He probably is trending toward playing, is my guess.
Yeah.
I bet he does play. I want to hear your thoughts on this. I would rather have Malik Willis play this week because I have a lot of confidence in Matt LaFleur to drop a game plan that covers for Malik Willis's deficiencies. I don't have confidence in him and the rest of the team to not have this thought in the back of their mind of, oh, Jordan can bail us out if we, screw up.
That is a problem, and I don't like saying this. It does kind of feel like sometimes in like 2016, 2018, where it's just like the Packers are like, hey, you know what? You know who's going to get us out of this? 12. He's going to get us out of this. No problem. We're fine. He's going to make a throw that not many people can make, and we're fine. And that's what we're gonna lean on. And it feels like we're kind of getting to that point a little bit where it's just kind of like, all right, well, Jordan's going to make a spectacular throw at some point, right? And he has. He certainly made spectacular throws. They've gotten the explosive plays plenty when they've needed to. But if this is what I don't want. I don't want, if Love plays, they can't go under center. Because if they can't go under center, don't play him. You need that element. You need it. Especially without Hutchinson in this game, where the defensive ends are going to, and the linebackers, I think they feel like they're going to have to help themselves because Hutchinson's not there to wreck the game. It's only McNeil now. I feel like being under center is going to force them into a bind, and that's there was a great discussion on NFL Live, I think maybe last season, about what play action does, and defensive ends and linebackers and all of the conflict that it generates because you have to respect running the football. So if they cannot be under center with Love playing, don't play him. Don't do it. Well, he needs to be out there stretching. You need to be out there, with just any semblance of like this play action is going to help us dictate so much on offense. So
the problem we have seen a lot of weeks so far this season has been when Jordan doesn't have mobility and he has to stand there like the statue, struggles to step up into the pocket, really struggles when he has to bail out. And, to your point about, trying to play under center, dude, if you can't turn around and go, execute the long handoff, like, my gosh, we are in for a world of pain right here. If you have to take every snap in the shotgun. Tool for this. What does Matt mean when he says Jordan can't protect himself? I think that's literally what he's talking about is the mobility. And he talked at halftime this past week about how they needed to adjust they needed to trim the playbook down because Jordan couldn't move.
Yeah.
Which is your red flashing light that it's time to pull your quarterback and put in the competent backup who you feel confident that you have played with him a lot this year and he's performed great. I mean, he just charged through the AFC South with a bloody sword held in the air, lopping off heads. I mean, he murdered the AFC South. Malik Willis did.
That's good. Unfortunately,
Jake, explain
the AFC South and the NFC North. But I do think this is it. Yeah. I don't, if they lose because and Malik plays, darn it, that stinks. You're 6-3. You're heading into the bye week. It's a perfect chance for Jordan Love to get 2 weeks. 2 weeks before this home stretch that is going to be Chicago twice, Detroit, Minnesota, San Francisco. I know I don't want to lump them in, but I'm going to anyway. Seattle and Miami, who just there isn't going to be pushover games, right? Miami can still score right now that Tua's back and playing. And Seattle can have those eruption weeks. They're not consistent, but they can have those eruption weeks. So having Love healthy for that stretch, I think, is going to be important. If they lose this game and they're 6-3, I'm just not going to be devastated if Jordan Love's getting the rest he needs, especially with a groin injury at a position where, as you mentioned, JJ, it's like he has the mobility. He can fall back on that to maneuver the pocket, to extend plays, to run when he needs to. It's just when he is hurt, as told for this, and Matt LaFleur said, he can't protect himself. That's sliding, that's landing correctly when he throws, all of that stuff, and right, landing when he takes a hit, all of that is kind of compromised because of the injury. So they would be better off if Jordan is not 100% and he's not moving around like we've seen him move around. There's just no reason to rush. There isn't. And I know it stinks to go out there, for at least for some. I'm probably going to be on the pessimistic side of this. Running out there with Malik Willis, probably knowing you're going to lose the football game.
Maybe. Maybe. Yes, you are more limited. Jake, explain to me why it is that when Malik Willis is out there, the receivers are catching all their passes with sure hands, not dropping them. Like, why. I am why it is. Close to Malik is better than Jordan. I'm not anywhere close to that. Why are they playing better when they know that Malik is throwing? Like, I understand that why. You are trying harder. Can you do that when Jordan's out there, please?
I know. I'm just because they know that the floor is lower. They need to bring themselves up. They're like, okay, we know the floor is lower and the ceiling's lower when Malik Willis is out there. We need to make sure that everything is firing on all cylinders. Brother, if you're firing on all cylinders when Jordan is playing quarterback, you can be the best offense in this league. I don't know why that is.
Dallas last year.
I don't know why, like, offensively, that we just talked about it, like, oh, Jordan will bail us out. We're getting into that portion. Why are the receivers thinking the same way as well? Like, oh, no, I dropped one. Oh, well, Jordan will bail us out later. It's like, Jaden Reed, my guy, you got to catch that one that Jordan was flinging way down the field against Houston. We need that one. Those things, we can't be missing the big plays when they're there. And so, like, I don't know why the like mentality or something just clicks when Willis is playing, because you feel like the margin is a lot thinner. I get that. It is. There's no doubt. But man, when you play the same way when Jordan is playing, it's going to look like the second half last year in offense. It's going to look like how it looked against Dallas in the playoffs. We just got to get there. Just somehow, guys. Tucker Kraft cannot carry the pass catchers every week. All right? I would love for him to do that. He can't be doing it every week. You can't go line him out there at X receiver and play that. He can't do that. Okay? So somebody else has to. We've got to get to that point where it's just like the mentality has to be every week, man. Every week. Not just this one because Malik's playing and we know the margin is thinner. Can't be that way. It cannot. The rant's done. I'm done.
I just want to know what Matt LaFleur would say if we asked him that question. Like, has he thought about it? Because, like, why is he not in the locker room screaming at these guys? You know, look, hey, let's watch another play. Okay, here's this play with Malik under center. Oh, look, you caught it. Now let's watch the same play with Jordan under center. Look at that. Concentration drop. My guy, do you want to play on my team or do you want to go sit on the bench? Just
it would be very simple. I feel like I would be the guy in the locker room when that's happening. I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk to Goody about going to some of these big games this fall and looking at receivers. Want that extension? Go show me you want that extension every week.
Yeah, like Romeo's
getting there.
Fantastic the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and everybody else, they're just like phoning it in, and like. I don't have any questions about their talent. I don't have any questions about their ceiling and what they could be. I want to know why they're playing like the idiot version of themselves right now. Because we have seen how much better they can play. They are so good, and they're not playing like that right now. Tay Wicks, like, I'm glad we're being patient with him. I'm glad that he's still getting targets and reps. But my dude, get better. You can. You have been better.
Yeah.
Robert Tonyan.
The one thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I
was gonna say. I think what's wild is like Romeo Doubs is doing this when he's not open. Like he's making those plays. Romeo Doubs, and no disrespect, Romeo Doubs is the reason he's so effective is because he covers a role in this team that really nobody else has right now. Is he's body control, catch point. I can find my way to separate myself and win the margins at the catch point because I have the control and the chemistry and the understanding of where I need to be. And he's got that bucket. He's not open as much as the rest of these guys are. That's just facts. So I don't know why the others, it's just, man, you're open so much. Just catch the rock. Romeo's making the tough plays. He's making the tough plays, partially because he's not as good at getting open as the other guys, fair enough, but he's making them. And I would just like Reed and Wicks, and I don't think Watson, it doesn't feel like Watson as much really, but like those two, who I think are the two most talented receivers on the team, secure the dang ball. Yeah. Secure the dang ball when you're open. And I know there's like some mental thing, and I know a lot of receivers have talked about like, oh, you know, when you're running by yourself and you're 10 yards of separation downfield, there's just so much more pressure on you to make the catch because, like, you need to make this one. Where it's like when the 50-50 ball is up, is like, I'm not always expected to make this. So, like, you're not as tense. But I feel like when you're at this point and you've shown what you've shown when you're reading Wicks, everything should just be in flow when you're out there. Like, I'm open, I'm catching, I'm gone. Like, that's how it should feel for them. And I know they have it. But there have been some really devastating drops, and then they just got to get cleaned up. And I don't know why it's when 10's out there. It doesn't make sense, but it's, you know. But that's the other thing. That's the one other thing really quick is I'm glad we're having this discussion in late October and not in January. So it's a fine time to be talking about this right now and be like, okay, we're not on the same page. We're not making the plays that are there. I'm glad that we're having this mid-season rather than late December, early January. So that's at least the positive spin on this to this point. So,
well, and like Jaden Reed obviously really has struggled the last 2 weeks, and like none of us are actually worried about Jaden Reed long term.
No.
We know how good he is. Like he has been our wide receiver one the whole year. But like you notice, like, hey, as soon as Jordan goes out, all of a sudden Jaden starts like playing Superman ball again, and like, oh hey, basically the game winning huge pass on the second or third down from Malik. No problem. No problem.
Yeah. Like it feels like they're sitting forward in the chair. It's like that point when you're playing a video game where it's like, oh, Malik's in. I'm going to sit forward in the chair now. Like, brother, sit forward in the chair all the time. Please. Please sit forward in the chair all the time. So,
by the way, can we please take Jaden Reed off of punt returns, please?
I would say yes, but then I watched what Nixon did in the Texan game, and I'm over it. I am over it. We can't be doing that stuff. You can't late call that. I forget the word now that they call. Shoot, I'll remember it later, I'm sure. But you can't be late calling that, telling people get away.
Listen,
we gotta be on a better footing than that.
Special teams is not going to get better. It's bad.
Bad. So at this point,
so get our wide receiver one off punt returns.
If you're going to get him off punt returns, get away from the ball. I just get away from the ball.
Terrifying. I hold my breath
from the ball.
Every time the defense forces a punt, I hold my breath.
I'm like trying to think of like who we can put back there right now. Because if you don't want one of the top receivers out there, it's just like I don't know who to put back there. I don't want to put a defender back there. Like, respectfully, you're on defense, you can't catch the ball. Like, I don't want you back there. I wish I was more confident in Bo Melton back there, but I am not at the moment. So I don't know. Marshawn Lloyd
says, imagine the confidence boost. Should we beat the Lions with Malik? By the way, I hate Dan Campbell. I don't hate Dan Campbell as a person. I certainly hate the Lions. My father-in-law and my sister-in-law are huge Lions fans. It's very annoying. And they are also huge Malik Willis fans. She goes to Liberty, and they're like massive Liberty fans. And so they were like just screaming at their TVs on draft night. They wanted the Lions to draft Malik Willis in the first round. Okay, like they wanted him so bad.
I thought that trade up was that.
So
at one point,
I would really love for Malik Willis to beat the Lions.
It would be great.
My family, but I also want them to just stop talking. And if they're a little bit sad, I wouldn't feel too bad. Dershel says, put Zane Anderson back there. Let him earn his money.
I don't want to put DBs back there. That freaks me out. I don't like it. I know everybody. I remember the year that Cobb kind of got hurt on punt returns. Like, what are we doing back there? But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but if you put a DB back there and they drop the ball, you can't be surprised. They're playing defense. Everybody drops picks on defense.
I mean, earlier in the year, I would have said put Romeo Doubs out there.
Right. Yes. That crossed my mind. But
the fact that none of our other receivers feel like doing their jobs.
Right. You can't have him.
I'm just not sure which receiver you'd even put out there because,
Can Malik Heath just go back there and catch the ball?
But like, can Heath and Melton actually catch? Like, I don't mean that as like, derogatory. Like I do like them. I want them on the team.
There's 100% a different thing of tracking the ball, end over end, knuckleball, wind on the punt returns versus a tight spiral, right? There is a definite difference in that. So I get that. I don't think people realize that as much. But man, just practice on the bye week. Go out there, send some folks out there. Everybody get back there for punt returns. I need to see it, like especially in the wind, right? Have Whelan do all kinds of stuff and just find a guy who can just catch it. That'd be great. but I like too old for this.
Chat
Joseph
right now.
jumping on the bandwagon, putting Tucker Kraft back there. I mean, sure.
Well, first he says rich Bisaccia, more like lower middle class Bisaccia.
Yeah, that's pretty
Dude,
good. That's pretty good.
I'm getting over the Rich Bisaccia experiment. I don't know. But
Yeah.
also, like,
I
I
don't know
don't think
what-
we're going to get any better because we're never good on special teams.
Yeah, I don't know what the
So
that's like what Mike Daniels said about the defense, but it's figuring itself out kind of where Mike Daniels was like, we've tried a lot of things, personnel, coaches, I don't know what we do. The special teams feels more like that. It's just like I don't know.
yeah.
You tell me. I don't know.
At least
we got a punter.
On defense. Okay, like I really did like Mike Pettin, and like we got rid of him because he clearly had lost the locker. Like the
But like
ears
initially,
were completely out on Mike Pettin. I was still in on him.
yeah.
And I mean, like frankly, I still really like his defensive scheme. Sorry, that's what I like running.
Yeah.
But like, you show me one person out there who actually liked the Joe Barry hire, with it being Joe Barry. Like, we all could step back and turn our head sideways and squint a little bit and go, "Oh yeah, I could see how this in theory would work." Kind of wish it was somebody other than Joe, but
Yeah.
I kind of see how this theory of hiring a Fangio disciple who has worked here and here and here,
Yeah.
and he's very charismatic and the players are going to like him. Okay, I kind of see the picture. Still wish it wasn't the guy who, had the worst defense ever with Washington and then had the worst defense ever with Detroit. Kind of wish it wasn't specifically him, but I can kind of see the vision. But like nobody loved the hire.
No.
Jeff Hafley, and this is what I said to start the season, like the defense has to be good this year because I'm all out of ideas. If Jeff Hafley is not
That's
the
like
guy,
Mike Daniels.
I don't have any other ideas. Like Jeff Hafley was the specific
pretty much
human I have been asking for since 2020. It was May 2020. I was driving down to Kentucky and I was daydreaming. Oh, could you imagine? What if the Packers hired Jeff Hafley? It'll never happen because, he just got the head coaching job at BC. And he's going to get a head coaching job in the NFL eventually. Like, he specifically was who I wanted. If this doesn't work, I don't have any other ideas. Like, Robert Saleh, can we get Robert Saleh? No, he's going to go be a head coach again somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Saleh. I know Minter was thrown out last offseason as well.
And their defense still has not been great in LA.
I mean,
it's fine. It's not great.
I think they've allowed 20 points once, but it's also not been that like tough of a schedule. They really haven't played someone where I'm like, I want to, I want to see the defense now. Which I think personnel wise, like I still think they're getting a lot out of it, which is great. And like they're doing it, it's almost like they have Chargers to this point of like, oh, so you're playing all these mid to bad teams at the start. Like, please check the box of like we can handle this. And it's like, okay, cool, you've handled that. Now, and again, the Chiefs have kind of been all over the. They lost Rice in that game and kind of had to adjust on the fly. So 17 points, meh. I want to see more of what they do in the back half.
The Chargers right now have the 10th best defense in the NFL. By a DVOA. Green Bay has the 14th, but they're actually really close to each other. Yeah. But there's a bigger gap between 9 and 10 than there is from 10 to 14.
Yeah.
So there's kind of this pile from 10. Really, it's exactly from 10 to 14 of like four teams. They're all basically tied. Chicago, Cleveland, or five teams. The Chargers, Chicago, Cleveland, Baltimore, Green Bay. All basically tied for like 11th best defense.
Yeah, and the Chargers, by the way, their schedule at this point: Raiders, Panthers, Steelers, Chiefs, Broncos, Cardinals, Saints. Okay, and they have the Browns and Titans the next two. Okay, it's gonna the real test for the defense to see how what I think is when they play Cincinnati, Baltimore, Atlanta, Kansas City, and Tampa Bay in a 5-week stretch. That's going to be, I think, more indicative of what we see. I know DVOA does a lot of good adjusting, and that's all well and good. Let's see how it goes later in the year. But
I'm getting behind on some of my chats. You got to help me with pinning some of these interesting ones when they come in, especially if I'm talking. I never.
Yeah, I got you.
Tool for this: Packers being bad at special teams is as sure as the Bears sucking. I look at it as there are some things that are just intrinsic to the DNA of a team. Like the Bears, no matter how garbage of a defensive roster they have, by the end of the year, they're going to be playing good defensive football.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter who the coaches are.
Yeah, they'll find it.
And you can load up with whatever you want on offense for the Bears, and by the end of the year, they're going to be sucking on offense.
Yeah.
The Packers, again, throw a bunch of Walmart employees out there. By the end of the year, they're going to figure out their offense.
Yep.
They're never going to figure out their special teams.
No.
And in a good year, you'll have like maybe the 10th best defense. And listen, if you have the number one offense and the 10th best defense, hey, go into the playoffs and see if you win a Super Bowl. Great.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it's one of those years where you have like the 29th or 30th best special teams instead of 32nd.
Right.
You know, you look at like the Mo Drayton year. I was like, that was 32nd, and like they had like one good performance kind of later in the year that like finally pulled them out of range of being 2009 Chargers bad on special teams.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like that like that's what you're hoping for from Packers. Like, can we hit number one offense in the NFL? Yeah, actually, a lot of years we probably can.
Yeah.
Can we be like top 10 on defense in a good year? Yes. Can we be like 27th or 28th on special teams? That's as good as you're going to get for Packers.
Yeah.
Combination. If you can get all three of those in 1 year, oh baby, Super Bowl.
Right. Exactly.
By the way, I did want to look at this when the chat was talking about punt returns. They're talking about Carl Brooks could be interesting.
Yeah,
this is a brilliant idea, Dershel. This is why we love you.
Carl Brooks. I assumed he meant
Chris Brooks.
Chris Brooks. Yeah.
No, there's not anything that Chris Brooks does that could be interesting. He can pass protect, and that's it.
Perfect.
Chris Brooks is the new.
We're paying him so much less than the Cowboys, and the Cowboys brought Zeke back to do that. And it feels nice that we can just find that wherever. The Cowboys are like, we need Zeke back for that.
So I forget who I was talking to on Twitter during the game, but I was getting upset that it's like 3rd and 4th down, and we continue to put the ball in Chris Brooks' hands. And I'm like, my gosh, we have Josh Jacobs on this team, and we have Emmanuel Wilson, who we all agree is like playing out of his mind this year.
Yeah.
Fantastic football, like almost as good as Josh Jacobs is playing.
Yeah.
And Matt LaFleur is like, what if Chris Brooks every 3rd and 4th down? They're never going to see it coming, especially because he keeps dropping the ball. They'll never expect it when we do it again. Like this is what they did with Patrick Taylor, and right before Goody cut Patrick Taylor specifically so that Matt couldn't keep going to Patrick Taylor on 3rd and 4th down.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to somebody, and they were pointing out like, well, look, Chris Brooks is good in pass pro, and you need like you have to do some tendency breaker stuff and like keep the defense honest so they don't just automatically assume he's only out there to pass block. And I'm like, yes, that is true, but you can accomplish that while still significantly trimming down the number of plays that you put in his hands, and like put it in his hands on like 2nd down, not 3rd and 4th down, please. And yes, I know he had that nice carry to start the game-winning drive. I get it. Thank you, Chris Brooks, for your contribution there, and I appreciate what you bring as a blocker. Just really don't like having to be the ball carrier. Okay.
Really quick, Prince Capsaicin saying Wheeler needs to have a good game after seeing what they did on punt returns last week. Yeah, their return game, I don't know what the total yardage was for returns. I didn't look at that, but it was insane last week, punt and kick. Like, it just felt like Tennessee couldn't cover anything. And I mean anything on Sunday.
Listen, you kind of have to throw some of the Tennessee game out because of Tennessee, and they stink. They are really terrible at almost everything.
True. So, does that mean we have to throw that out for Willis as well, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like what Tennessee can. First of all, their defense is really overrated. They've been awful against every good team they played, and they've they have shut down some really bad offenses. Okay.
Yeah.
Their offense is putrid. It might be the worst offense in the league. I probably could pull it up and see here. Let me see. Where does their offense rank? Tennessee's offense
30th in
is
DVOA.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is the fifth worst. They are basically tied with Carolina and Vegas, a little bit better than New England and Cleveland. And that is the Deshaun Watson Cleveland, not the Jameis Winston Cleveland. All right?
Right.
They're awful on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, on offense.
Yeah, they are.
Chat is trying to rip on Lucas
here.
Van Ness. Listen,
Yeah,
you guys are too. There's a
Carl
two
Brooks.
We're talking about
Carl Brooks on punt return, maybe LVN on punt return. Carl giving Chris a piggyback punt return together, like Voltron. That's good from Tyler Dershel there.
If Chris's feet never touch the ground because he's piggybacking on Carl, does it actually count as 12 players in the field? He's not on the field. He's on Carl.
Right, he's not on it. But by the transverse property, he might be on the field. But as many say, the transverse process, the transverse
once you get
property
back
in college football is a joke. So, yeah.
Then we need somebody else to jump up in the air.
I wonder if Dan Lanning will try that at some point down the stretch of a game. It's like, hey, that wasn't 12 men. That was a piggyback.
We've been talking for an hour. We haven't even started on college.
I know that's the one thing we have not done yet. But I wanted to get to the rest of the chat here because.
Have you watched the Penguin series? It's great. Even if there's not you have not Batman fans, it's really good. So I started it because I really liked. He's ripping on you for saying transverse property.
Oh yeah, didn't say transitive. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the Batman. It was a fantastic movie.
I thought it was great.
Penguin was great in it. I started the first episode of the Penguin. Really liked it. Didn't finish it because my daughter woke up from her nap, and I haven't had time since then to do anything. But the next time I sit down to watch something, it will be the rest of Penguin.
I definitely need to get on that for sure because I feel like every weekend I've been somewhere since early September, at least on one of the days. So I feel like I haven't had a weekend where it's just kind of like, okay, it's just time to chill. So this is a good weekend, I think, to kind of maybe see if I can start the Penguin series because I would like that. I'm sure.
The chat is getting upset about you saying the word transverse, which I'm just going to define.
Yeah, it was supposed to be transitive.
Yeah, but Merriam-Webster, situated or extending across something. A transverse beam supports the dashboard. Set crosswise, made at right angles to the long axis of the body. Maybe Jake was trying to explain how Carl was going to be carrying Chris. Okay, carrying him transverse across his shoulders. So
they're running in an imaginary transverse line, like the line of scrimmage. Tool for this, we didn't. Oh, there you go. They've made a mini. They made a mini bump.
I love you, my man, but I know exactly what you're doing. All right, you're trying to derail us. Do you remember
this?
Remember Bop It? I am still the champ.
I have one. I still have one.
Actually, I don't have one, but my best friend has one, and we do play it.
So it was Bop It, Twist It, Pull It, Spin It.
No,
Flick It.
Is it Smack It?
No, I thought that's the Bop It one.
Yeah,
Spin It. Yeah, there's a Spin It that I think is like orange.
Bop It, Twist It, Pull It.
Spin It, Flick It. I think that's I don't know. But I know there's a mini Bop It that just has the twist, pull, spin
Bop It, twist, pull it, spin it.
Okay, there you go. I've beaten Bop It. That's funny. No, you don't beat Bop It. It runs out of battery because of how many, what your high score is.
Give Bop It to Reed and Nixon for punt return practice. It challenges reflexes.
Flick is the fifth one.
Flick?
Yeah, it's green.
One I did never had
green.
What did you do with it? It sounds painful. You're flicking.
No, it hurt. Yeah, no, it does hurt because usually you hit it with your nail. And so after 8 or 9 of those, your fingernail starts to hurt.
I feel like at
It's
this
not
point,
the best one. Honestly, you can kind of just like almost just push it essentially if you
I think
want
we're
to
just
with that one.
describing the Pitt offense at this point.
Well, that could be.
Like, spoiler alert for when we start talking about Northern college football,
Which is probably a good time as we're
which is the only
transitioning
college
into Bob
football
Pitt.
that matters.
Let's do it. Let's make the transition.
Real quick.
That's right. It is green.
Lions Packers game. Jake, pick the winner.
The Lions.
I'll take the Lions as well.
What's the line?
My math gives the Lions a 63% chance of winning. I do think that if the Packers can play clean football, they absolutely have a chance here. Somebody else made the point, and I mean, we say this like every freaking week. Like when the Packers are good, and they're good right now.
Yeah.
They really tend not to get beaten by other teams. They beat themselves. And you get a team like the Lions, which is really disciplined in all three phases, and they will capitalize on your mistakes. And the Packers too frequently shoot themselves in the foot over and over again.
Yep.
If that's the kind of crap they're going to pull this week, absolutely they're going to lose to the Lions. But if they play clean football, this Lions team can be had.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially at corner, I think Carlton Davis gets too grabby. So does Arnold, really. Both of those guys are riding the fine line of PI or not. And when you have good separators, good speed, Green Bay's got a nice mixed bag of it. You can throw a lot at those guys. I do feel like Arnold's going to get into a couple positions if he's against Dobbs or Wicks, where he's going to lose that battle and he's going to have to commit a penalty to recover. So I think PI spot foul yards are going to be had if you attack.
Probably.
So
I mean, we were the beneficiaries of that quite a bit this past week as well. Dershel says Lions win, but Green Bay covers. Packers are getting 3.5 points here at home. That's a little bit of a tough spread to cover. I think if the Lions win, I think they'll win by more than 3.5. I think if it's close, I think the Packers are going to pull it out.
This is not advice, but I usually like to pick underdogs at home within the division, right? The divisional game, underdog at home. I usually like to bet a lot of those because if you look historically, even this season, been very good. This one, if it was like 5.5, and maybe it's at 3.5 right now because Jordan, maybe he's playing, maybe he's not. Don't know who the quarterback is. Maybe if we knew it was Malik, it might go more in Detroit's direction.
If they rule Jordan out early,
that moves.
This spread is going to swing wildly,
and then that'll be too far.
At that point, bet on the Packers.
It'll be too far then. If they do that early in the week, but I think we both think they won't. They're gonna ride the thing out as far as they can, probably till 11:20 or so on Sunday. So,
this chat will not stop. Like we're trying to switch to college football, and the chat
we're switching,
insisting on derailing us from college.
But
I can't. There's too many good comments. I got to read them.
Okay, commenters, put your score prediction in the chat.
2-0 for this says, I do think the Lions will underestimate the Packers, and the Packers have to get it together at some point. That point needs to be before the bye. I do wonder if missing Aiden Hutchinson and missing Jamison Williams works against us a little bit because the Lions might be feeling wounded and more wary of
wounded animal is very dangerous.
Joseph says both L's this season are because Green Bay beat themselves. I do agree with that, especially the freaking Vikings game.
The Vikings game was bad. It was not great.
Prince Cap Stason, Arnold needs the Ahmad Carroll boxing gloves.
He really does. It was pretty bad.
Joseph, I think Lions score last week has overinflated Lions. That game was like a Pop Warner game. Titans seriously would have lost to a high school team. And the Titans are a high school team, so I do agree there. Help us, McManus, your only hope. Yeah.
This, I don't want to say it, but I remember, that 2010 season, the amount of times they won by a field goal. or lost by a field goal in OT.
Yeah.
And it just it has that sort of feeling now where they're like, that we got those wins in close games. We are losing close games as well, but everything just feels like Green Bay's in it at all times. So we'll see.
Tool for this: the Packers are Maserati
this to the
being
screen.
driven by me. Great car, but will never reach his potential. I love you, Tool, for this. All right, and Tool for this is going to carry us into college football. College football is great. I watched it once, like 11 years ago. You can do that? I didn't know you could put my screen on. All right, heck yeah. So
I'm making an executive call here.
We have only 2 score predictions in the chat so far from Prince, Cap, Stason, and Joseph, but they both are picking the Packers to win it. I like it. All right, 2 things, chat. 1, I know my audio has been horrible the last 2 weeks prior to this. Is it better tonight?
Yes.
Because I got a new mic. So chat, let me know if it sounds better tonight, and does it sound as good as it used to, a month ago?
Yeah.
Jake.
Yeah, it is. I think so.
Okay. So chat, check this out. I built a new tool for us. It's only like 60% finished being built. Oh, thanks, Joseph. Yeah. It's only like 60% being built. So what this is a better version of our little notepad that we were moving our tiers up and around with. Joseph says it's the best I've ever sounded. Heck yeah. So what we have here, you may notice. So it says Oregon 8-0, 1-0. Yeah. That is 8-0 on the season and 1-0 against the South. Thank you, Oregon.
I love that.
Repping against the South. So I think this is going to be really helpful. And one of the awesome things here is for the ones that have actually finished building out, we can click into these and actually see what they did each week. And so you see these 2 green games right here because they beat the
Southern teams.
Yep. Because here on Derailed, we like to tell the South to cram it. All right.
Yeah.
And as I've been filling all these out, and I have to fill these out manually, it has made me really appreciate our Big 12 Northern teams because there's a lot of Southern Big 12 teams. And so you look, I didn't finish filling out like.
I wonder if Tool for this is talking about the Chris Davis return. That could be.
One time Auburn was good and beat Bama. That's the last time I watched college. You're lost. Listen,
or it was when they actually went to the
college fiction by listening to us. Discussing Northern college football. That can be your entire absorption of college football.
No, disagree. When we start talking draft, that's part of college football. So we need you to be there for that as well.
Fair enough.
So
listen, a lot of these weeks we start getting distracted by some really big games. Let's just start from the top in order.
Yeah, I can't. We gotta. Yeah.
So let's talk about Pitt. So I know they scored 41. That was for everybody listening. I know none of you watched that game.
Yeah,
that was entirely the defense. Kyle McCord threw 5 pick sixes.
It was not good. It was
so. Jake, how have we been describing Syracuse all year?
This is in the models. This is Syracuse. This is in the models. This is like completely horrendous. I can't like it's. Put it this way. I'm gonna throw an analogy out there. Okay, Syracuse is one of 2 things. It's a golfer who like legitimately can't find the club face and just chunking. Just nothing's good. It looks like you picked up a club for the first time, or it looks like you could go pro tomorrow. When you're playing golf, that's the 2. That's like what Syracuse is. Those are the 2. This week, look like you should quit. Okay, that's what Syracuse looked like this week. It's in the models. That's what we know. This is the high variance football team. They are that. So can't be surprised about this one. I'm sure. I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like. I'm sure they've got a good team left on it that they'll probably play right down to the wire. That's what's going to happen with Syracuse.
Got 2 comments here. Tyler Dershel says McCord blows. Listen, that's not very nice. It's super accurate.
That's not very nice.
Okay, just Just saying. Okay.
And also saying the mic is good. So that's good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are getting some quality audio because you deserve it. I don't sit around listening to our own podcast. Spoiler alert. But I was having to do some stuff with our new podcast feed, which again, please go subscribe to that. There's a QR code up at the top of the screen. Please go subscribe to
where
it.
I'm pointing. Point over there. It's over there.
My hand is getting cut off by
you're getting the
invisibleness.
Yeah. I have to think about which way I'm pointing now. It's tough.
Okay, am I pointing at the QR code right now?
You are, yeah.
See, on my screen it's flipped, so I'm pointing.
I know. I'm pointing away from where I see the QR code, and I don't.
So go there, scan the QR code.
Please do.
It helps us the most if you listen on Spotify, but listen on any platform. And like, if you go to that link up there that I gave you, there's a bunch of different things, and one of them is it's a little globe icon, and it will take you to the YouTube Music library.
There you go.
Listing for our show, and either on Jake's YouTube channel, which I can never remember what it is, Jake Schyvinck NFL. You got to do something that people can spell, man. Either on Jake's YouTube channel or on the YouTube Music podcast listening.
Yeah.
Turn on the notifications for when we go live, so you can hop on here with us and participate in the chat. And I don't remember what the other thing I was going to say was.
I don't know.
Fine.
This is like an actual push for them. Joseph's a little bit anti this show. He's like, man, will you just get back on topic?
I know.
That's what is happening.
I know. Sorry.
Joseph and Too Old for This, very much like contrasting styles here. They're trying to push us in two different directions, which, kind of like that.
I literally
Joseph, the ads and all of this help pay the bills, okay?
Explain scanning QR code an actual boomer.
That's
Listen,
pretty good.
Your smartphone, open up your camera and point it at the QR code, and the little thing will pop up, and you can tap it. All right,
that's nuts. It's nuts technology, I will say.
That's how you do that.
But Joseph, to Joseph's comment, I've really appreciated. Like, I know people can't stand ads. I appreciate them. I just set them on. Like, if it interrupts a video, I'll just let it run now because I'm like, I would love the person to do the same for me when I've got these going on. So, like, my perspective has greatly shifted because
Too old for this
of producing stuff here.
Jake Schyvinck's last name.
That's been a consistent issue my entire life. Pronunciation, spelling, all of that. Sorry. I don't have another good name for this. I already had the logos built with the J and the S on there, with X's and O's on it. We've committed to this point. We've committed.
Dude, I'm a graphic designer by trade. I will make you a logo for free.
But I don't know what the new name is, right? Comment down below if you have one. But
I walk my grandma through QR codes at least once a week.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What I need to do is just get like derailedfootball.com or something. So
we got derailed more so during the advertisement. This is what you should do for the podcast, blah, 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 than like any of the first hour and 10 minutes. Because all we have mentioned is that Syracuse is volatile. We haven't moved them on the scale or anything like that. We haven't moved Pitt. So this has been a really good derailed the second half of this show. Really like that. Good job, everybody. We are going to try and get back on track here with Pitt and Syracuse.
I keep having to scroll back because we're getting further and further away from Joseph's comment that I want to address. He says, gotta say, I kind of like how BYU and Redacted are near the top, kind of old school.
Redacted.
On this podcast, we only care about the North. Don't talk about Redacted.
I think for JJ, that is a lifestyle, and for me, it's a bit. For this, I think JJ's legitimately, even off of the show, is completely anti Southern team. I feel like I'm only in it for the bit on this show. But anyway,
this says I like Miami of Ohio.
That's good. There we go.
There you go. That's the real Miami.
No, so Joseph, it's not BYU. It's the other one, right?
I care about the South. when we're talking NFL draft, all right? Because dang it, there's a lot of great players in the South who I want.
We're gonna have to cut this out.
Playing in Green Bay. For purposes of college football games,
All right, we're
competing for the Natty, the South can cram.
Back.
Listen, I really don't hate the teams. I hate the way the media talks about the SEC. Hate how
That's
they
fair.
pump up crappy ACC teams and like, ooh,
The ACC is the problem. Yes, they're the biggest culprit. Now, do they not do a good job of saying when the SEC has a down year? Yeah, but like to prop up the ACC
this year, the SEC is horrible this year,
and yet
we'll never hear that from. Because here's the thing,
and yet though the ACC is
soft,
just
mushy middle in the SEC helps the SEC because then the media just talks about like, wow, look, we have all these 3-loss teams. Well, that's just because the SEC is so good and so competitive this year. And then, you get a northern team loses one game to a conference rival. And they're like, oh, man, look at that. Oregon stinks this year. All right. Joseph says, living down here at the SEC is insufferable. I hate them. I think you remember you live in Florida. So you were talking about Jacksonville last week. Redacted of Ohio has never produced an NFL draft pick. Didn't Roethlisberger go to Miami? What he did?
Miami of Ohio, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Redacted of Ohio. Tyler Dershel says South is going to lose again when it's crunch time. Well, okay.
I mean, they've done pretty well in the playoff.
You guys have done really good derailing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Syracuse, Pitt. Where's Pitt? Pitt's in tier 3. Syracuse, not in tier. Maybe they are.
Yeah, Syracuse is top
in tier 4.
So I kind of like this.
Northwestern's tier yet.
We had questions early on in the year about Pitt's defense. For me, all the questions right now about the offense. I don't know if they can compete with this offense. They have to get some stuff figured out. Yeah, this defense is for real, and Pitt absolutely has a chance to win the ACC, but they have to get some stuff figured out on offense.
Yeah, it's true. As far as moving, I don't think Syracuse drops a tier because the 2 tiers below them are Northwestern and Purdue. I don't think I'm going to put them there. But
I mean, I really appreciate.
Would you drop them below West Virginia?
Well, I really appreciate that West Virginia beat a Southern team.
Right.
Now, Arizona has been losing left and right to Northern teams all year.
Yes, they have. This is true.
I just don't know that this moves the needle much for me. I really don't. I mean, I think we're going to move Wisconsin, probably, but we'll see when we get there.
Yeah.
I think right now these 2 teams feel in the right spot, and the fact
I think they're in the right tier for sure.
The fact that Pitt blew out the crazy version of Syracuse,
yeah,
it just doesn't tell us much.
No.
So I think this is probably right. Now,
Boston,
BC lost to Louisville.
Louisville
is like so close to being a northern team for us. Like that is absolutely a border school.
True.
And I think if Louisville was like really good this year,
are they going to apply?
I think
for
they'd
next
be banging
year?
the table for let's put them in the north.
Louisville and Boise State are the current applicants, I believe, for northern teams next year.
And redacted of Ohio.
Yes, yeah. What a team to add. Yeah, BC, we gotta get you out tier 3, my doggy.
I really hate to do it.
I'm
dropping them down.
I think they gotta go. Oh man, BC or volatile Syracuse. Man.
I think I'm putting them above Syracuse at
Okay.
the moment because I think that BC would beat Syracuse. But again, which version of Syracuse?
Well, that's the problem. We don't know which Syracuse you're getting. Syracuse is either going to just run you over, or they're going to take care of themselves. That's what Syracuse does.
Duel for this. My urge to derail the conversation is fighting my desire to love college.
Rutgers.
So listen, it's time. I've been holding out, but you can't get blown out. Now listen, I know you had to fly all the way out to the West Coast. I know that's brutal, but you have lost 4 in a row.
Some teams have done it though. Yeah,
Rutgers was 4-0. Now they're 4-4. They have a losing record to the South. They are dropping.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to drop them significantly. I think they would lose to Michigan. I think they would lose to Pitt, Minnesota.
Michigan. I think they beat Utah for sure.
I think this is the exact right spot.
I think that's a good spot. I like it. Yep, I like that spot for them. That is fine.
Okay, Washington and Indiana. Washington has been in tier 2 for us. I think I got to drop them just a little bit because Washington has lost. Oh, I didn't put this one here. So
tough
Indiana. She was at Indiana 17-31.
They played it tough. This is the game Autzen was showing on their video board before the game.
Of course, they're so petty. I love it.
And it couldn't have been more like this one. I was talking to an Oregon fan about this. I'm like, this game is insanely polarizing. You know how much Illinois fans are rooting for Washington and how much you guys are rooting for Indiana right now? Like it couldn't. It's like we're playing our own game right now. Like that's how much it was. It was like, and he's like, "Oh, you guys really don't like Indiana that much." I'm like, "Yeah, it's more of a basketball thing dating back, but it's true." So that was a fun conversation. But they came out the winners in more ways than one, I guess, on Saturday with that one. So.
Tool for this wants to know how college ranking works. I've seen 500 teams outrank undefeated teams. You got to put a period before the 5 because otherwise it sounds like you're saying there are 500 different teams that are outranking the undefeated.
Listen, I've seen how good Incarnate Word is. They're ahead of Pitt. Why? So I get what you're saying.
I mean, it all depends on who you have played and how you have played them. So, for example, and we will get to Ohio State in a second, but like Ohio State went out to Oregon, and like every team that has had to travel across the country played like crap when they got there.
Really struggled. It took Penn State 3 quarters to get back into the USC game.
Ohio State flew across the country. Yeah. It's like 3,000 miles, basically.
It's a long way.
20 time zones. And lost by 1 to the number 1 team of the country. Yeah. Almost beat them.
Yep.
All right. That is considered a very quote unquote good loss. All right. Yes.
Whereas Pitt's undefeated, right? Still? Yes.
Yeah, let's go see. I'm trying to remember.
Pitt undefeated.
Team I was looking at who played like the silliest schedule.
Pitt's undefeated, I think.
Okay, Indiana.
Yeah, this is not.
They played FIU,
they're undefeated.
Western Illinois, Charlotte, Maryland, and Northwestern. All right, they do have a win over a pretty terrible UCLA team in there, but we highlight it because it's a win over the South. Mm-hmm. So, like, Indiana is really good, no question about it.
Yes,
but they have played nobody.
Right,
like this Nebraska game. Nebraska is easily the biggest, most interesting team that they have played. The toughest challenge they faced all year. Now they blew them out 56-7.
Yeah,
so like that's a fantastic win, and like nobody on this podcast is questioning how good Indiana is. Even Jake, and he hates Indiana. Like we acknowledge.
I question a little bit, but not enough. Not enough. It's pretty negligible, the questions right now, because it's just they've taken care of business. So what can you say?
So speaking of Indiana, I have to move Indiana. Now I know they just beat up on a, good but not elite Nebraska team, and a Washington team that, gosh darn it, they're plucky, but they don't have a lot of talent.
Washington's like, don't call us plucky. We don't know what that means.
Indiana to me is the 3rd best team in the North right now. Now you may notice they're 4th on this list, and I'm not moving Indiana up, which means somebody's moving down. But at the moment, Indiana to me has been playing the 3rd, no worse than the 3rd best football in the North, and I'm really tempted to say 2nd best behind Oregon only.
Okay.
but Ohio State and Penn State play each other this week. And so we are going to move one of these teams, I think, but we're going to wait to move both of them until after they play each other. But Washington, I'm afraid Washington.
They got to go below BYU to me.
Oh, absolutely below BYU.
At the very least, it's below them.
I think I really want to put Washington.
You know what? Yeah,
below,
the more I scroll down this list,
Colorado. I think this is about.
That's fine. Yep.
You got to rank them ahead of Michigan. To me.
Yep.
Especially because they beat Michigan.
Yes.
But I think this is about right. So let's turn our attention to Ohio State, Nebraska. So,
boy, those Nebraska boys fighting out there. Love that for them.
So this was a game where Nebraska last week got blown out 7-56 by Indiana. Ohio State lost to Oregon by 1 point, and much more importantly, in that game they lost their starting left tackle.
Yeah,
the guy who came in and played and finished the Oregon game in place of Josh Simmons, who is now out for the year. I think he tore his ACL. Is a guy named Zed Mahalski. Zed Mahalski didn't play fantastic to finish out the Oregon game, and Ohio State had their bye week, and they're experimenting with what the heck they're doing with their offensive line. And I think that they underestimated Nebraska, and they were really fixated on trying to exercise some demons here and fix their run game.
Yeah, their
offensive line is in shambles right now. They threw the ball like 16 times the entire game. This was completely just a case of Ohio State calling this game offensively for the rest of the year. They were trying to see if they could figure out their run game and their run blocking. And in the end of the game, the defense had to bail them out. Like, they almost lost Nebraska because they were getting 2.5 or 2.1, 2.6 yards per carry. And they have like two of the best running backs in the country right now. That offensive line is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Now, I think that there's some other stuff going on with the Ohio State football team right now. I'm really curious to see how they come out this week against Penn State.
Yep.
Penn State's playing really good football. They're white hot right now. I'm really interested to see how this game goes. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot to beat Penn State.
Yeah.
And I think they can be very successful throwing the ball.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But if they can't run the ball at all, that's really going to hurt them down the stretch, especially like when you're playing Michigan, if they still have Will Johnson at that point and get in the playoffs, Big Ten title game if you make it there. Like Indiana is going to be tough. If you can't run the ball, you're going to have a hard time beating Indiana. So really curious to see what happens here. Now, Zed Mahalski, who was playing left tackle, he got hurt. I don't think he's going to be back anytime soon. So we are now down to our third string left tackle. They are moving guys all around the place. They're experimenting with this guy at guard and this guy at guard and all kinds of stuff. They move their left guard to left tackle. Like it is huge work in progress. It's going to take them a while to gel. Not the time of year that you want to be experimenting with stuff like that. So I am bumping Ohio State down below Indiana. I'm a big Ohio State fan. You know how much this pains me. Now, Ohio State plays Penn State this weekend. We're going to see what they look like. We're going to see if we if they both kind of stink it up and Indiana blows somebody out again. Like, Indiana might be number 2 on our list after this week. We'll see. Jake might not let me do that because he hates Indiana. But I'm going to have to see it from Ohio State in order to bump them back up again. Okay. Meanwhile, like, Penn State has the opportunity. Like, if Penn State wins this game,
like,
I think they pretty much have punched their ticket to the Big Ten title game. Like, it's Oregon, Penn State in the Big Ten title game at that point.
Yeah, because I don't think
they don't play Indiana.
Right.
Now, Indiana is going to get to play Ohio State.
Got Ohio State,
shot at Ohio State,
Michigan, and Michigan State. I think Indiana has those 3 on the schedule.
Penn State, Oregon, Penn State, and Indiana don't play each other this year, but they all play Ohio State.
Yeah. So Penn State, after this week against Ohio State, is home versus Washington, at Purdue, at Minnesota, and Maryland at home. That's their finishing schedule. So, yeah, if they win this game,
outright offensive,
probably looking, unless frisky Minnesota makes it weird, an undefeated regular season.
Yeah, I mean,
for Penn State, right? If they win on Saturday.
Ohio State.
Other than frisky Minnesota.
I think Ohio State has to win out to make the Big Ten title game right here, because I don't think Oregon's
they do.
There. Like, the only real challenging games, they have Penn State, Indiana, and Michigan. All three of those are going to be challenging games.
Yeah, because I think Oregon still has Washington. Let me see. I've got Oregon.
And they lost to Washington last year, but, I mean.
Yeah. Oregon still has two treks across the country, Michigan and Wisconsin.
Neither of those should even be close.
They shouldn't. And they have Maryland and Washington at home. I don't think either of those will be close either. Especially because again, Maryland.
Washington might be close.
Maybe, yeah. That could be kind of a
one of the better rivalries. We'll see.
Yeah. Maryland might not even. They don't even have to show up. They could sim that one, if they would like to. So, yeah. I mean, I think
somewhere
Indiana and Ohio State have like the. Yeah. Indiana and Ohio State are the ones that are ones to watch. Are we moving Nebraska?
So I think
at all.
I think we're moving Nebraska below BYU at this point.
Okay.
But to me, that's a little bit more about BYU. So I wasn't.
Yeah.
Oops. Like, I think we debated doing this last week, didn't we?
I think so. I believe that's correct.
Yeah. And, like, BYU screwed around a bit with the UCF this week and, like, really didn't really have any business playing them that close. But, I mean, it is a long flight.
Final score?
Utah to Florida. What did you say?
Oh, final score was 37. I thought it was it 17-0 early? Hold on. Stand by. Stand by for all call. Here we go.
I do think we need to move Nebraska behind BYU. I'm tempted to put them behind Notre Dame as well, because Notre Dame has 2 wins against the South.
Okay.
Like, Nebraska has 3 losses. Their 3 losses, they have a
I will say BYU is 34-10 in the 4th quarter. So kind of that like, UCF kind of backdoor. Look at us. We backdoored it a little. They seem to be in complete control. But anyway.
Nebraska kind of only has one good win, and that's Colorado. And, like, Colorado is figuring some stuff out now.
Yeah.
I think, like, that Indiana loss is really bad.
Yeah, I was.
The Ohio State loss is a good loss for Indiana. Like, that
is
a little bit better for them. Like, honestly, we should have bumped Nebraska further down last week and be moving them
probably up. Yeah, that sounds about right. But
I do feel like
stayed a little conservative last week, but
behind Notre Dame.
Okay. And ahead of the team that beat them. But we'll get there. Notre Dame.
I want to move Illinois up. I want to.
That's okay. We don't have to do that. They didn't show up. They didn't show up. They won the second half though. Big W there. Okay, Notre Dame dominant over Navy. Tough for the Navy college football playoff believers. But did you know this? This was something that I didn't realize. Navy and Army can play in the AAC championship and then play again in the Army-Navy game.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Did we? We talked about that last week? Okay. Yeah. I didn't remember if we did or I talked about it somewhere else, but that is insanity.
Well, and it's because
we need it.
It's because the Army-Navy game, like the Army-Navy game, is not a conference game. They specifically made, like, it's just not a conference game.
We need it. I can't tell you guys how much we need that back-to-back.
I know.
So bad. Anyway. Notre Dame, are we moving them? is the real
I
question.
mean, we moved them ahead of Nebraska.
Okay. So they moved ahead of Nebraska.
I'm certainly not putting them ahead of BYU. Like,
No.
I guess
I
I'm
agree.
more open to an Iowa discussion. So Iowa
BYU
has
discussion.
3 losses, 2 of which are pretty bad. Like, I don't think anybody really expected them to beat Ohio State, but it should have been. And it was competitive at halftime, but then they just got their doors blown out in the second half and were completely non-functional on offense.
I do
like, credit to Ohio State's defense for doing that to them.
Yeah.
But still, like, that Michigan State loss was bad. That is a bad loss right there.
Yeah, that was very unexpected. I remember driving home, and after Illinois Michigan, I was like, and my sister was like, "Oh, it's 12-0 at half in the Iowa Michigan State game." I'm like, "Oh, so okay, Iowa's they're fine. They're doing their thing early." And she's like, "No, Michigan State's up 12-0 at half." I'm like, "Oh, that's a problem." So, yeah,
Tyler Dursley
I like
a couple
this.
of times called for us.
This
to
is really good.
Iowa because Cade McNamara got.
I mean, to be fair, can we have a we've put fancy Illinois in tier 1. Should we put Cade McNamara benched in tier 1 next to Illinois?
I'm
That's
glad
a
you
really
brought up
fun-
fancy Illinois. We should see what fancy Illinois is. Let's take a look at this. What is this fancy Illinois? I see they're 1-0.
Heck
What
yeah,
is
they
this?
are.
Oh, look
Oh,
at this.
delicious
It has a fancy
W.
serif font.
Delicious W over Michigan. And that, might I add, is a picture of the fake punt, which is great.
I brought my British accent for this.
All right.
Oh, what a deliciously vintage triumph. Illinois
my
delivered
pinky
over
up.
Michigan at Memorial Stadium in an affair of undeniable historical gravitas. Dressed to the nines in 1924 throwbacks, the Illini channeled the indomitable spirit of Red Grange himself as they stylishly dismantled the Wolverines 21-7 on the centennial celebration of Grange's 6-touchdown spectacle. In front of a sold-out crowd of 60,670, Illinois exhibited a magnificent mastery of the gridiron, leaving Michigan reeling. Destiny is calling yet again, but this time squarely out of reach.
You sound like British Vern Lundquist, and that was really, really good. And we should forever have that clipped. I put my pinky up for that. It felt right. But yes, fancy Illinois, looking real nice there. I am begging for them to release a mini helmet of the leather. Like, I will buy that yesterday. Okay.
Well, too old
They
for this
need
wants
it.
to know if fancy Illinois is a real college. Of course they're real.
It was for a week. Yes, it was a fancy college. They went back to the regular after that and came back a little bit to earth at Oregon, but we'll get there.
We got one more game to get to before we talk
do.
about Oregon. So
Minnesota.
feisty
We're playing some
Minnesota.
nice ball.
Spunky, feisty Minnesota.
Yeah, we absolutely hate that from the Illinois POV heading into the game this week. Don't like that Minnesota is finding it. Not a fan of that, but good for them.
Like, I would move them up because I think they deserve to be moved up from where they were, except I just don't know who deserves to be cast. So I think we're going to leave them right where they are. And
I
Maryland
might make a request later.
was getting a little feisty, and then they did this.
Yeah. Why don't
So-
you go back behind Wisconsin, Maryland? Yeah, get back down there.
Okay.
Don't make us put you in Northwestern's tier. Okay? Don't
Or
make
worse,
us do
the
that.
Purdue tier.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
South Harmon Institute of Technology.
We're going to talk fancy the rest of the time. Yeah.
For this, I know what that is.
Oh dear. Yeah. So
All
we
right.
have to get to this game. Oh dear.
Jake, the floor is yours. I monologued about Ohio State, Nebraska. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, I will say this. Legitimately, the fans were incredible at this game. Thank you for coming. How are you doing? How's your trip out here? Like, all this, just a very lovely group of people to talk to. And then there was the game part, which was not great. Just talk about, like, did not love the idea of deferring. They ran 3 plays on offense and they were down 14-0. You can't do that. The tackling was pretty bad. The discipline was pretty bad on defense. And When you can't run the ball, we talked about this, a while ago, talking about, Green Bay and sorts about, and of course, Ohio State as well. You get into the bad situations. And when Altmaier doesn't have that I would say fast enough pocket presence, I think his clock is a little too slow back there. You get into problems. Credit to them for fighting in the second half, but I did not expect this. I was thinking more along the lines of 34-16 was what I thought the margin was going to be. This was tough. It was a tough one to watch in person. However, great stadium, great backdrop, great fans, home team wise. Just a horrible performance. Hate that. Hopefully it's not indicative of what's to come. They got home games against Minnesota and Michigan State. Rutgers and Northwestern are also on the schedule. Would love to finish 10-2. Got a bad feeling that's not going to happen. So we'll see going forward.
I think this is real. I'm gonna share this. Sorry to anybody that this upsets, but come on, it's Packers. So I'm gonna share this.
Okay.
Apparently this is real. Or I'm just getting debated, but I'm gonna share. Okay. So I guess this is today.
Also with us is another Green
The audio.
Really.
Oh man, we were so close.
And running back, you may know the name.
This is real?
The quad father,
No, it's
A.J. Dillon. I got to meet him backstage. Get healthy soon, A.J. Get healthy.
That's
soon.
real?
Look at this guy.
No,
Look at this guy. Did they pan? Nope. Didn't pan.
I met A.J. backstage. I said, this guy is a seriously good-looking athlete. We're going to watch you get better soon. You're going to be in good shape, I think. I hear great. Thank you, A.J., very much.
Also, all right. There's only one comment I'm going to make. My guy, why are you wearing orange in Green Bay, Wisconsin? You dodo. Don't do that.
Well,
don't wear orange.
It's like a, yeah.
I know what I know what it is.
Okay.
I know why. Don't do that.
I think
just not a good idea.
I think he was doing something with like truckers, and
yeah, he was. He was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
like,
I think he's
just orange. Not a good call.
Dershel says Oregon fans think they can keep up with Midwest drinking. They will always be losers. I did see that. So it's a viral tweet.
Yeah, that was nonsense.
I think it's real.
Man.
I think it was a real opinion that somebody had. But talking
no, it was real.
Oh, Midwesterners just keep drinking Miller Lite, but we're gonna already be on our 10th IPA. Like, first of all, like,
we're not doing that.
Drunkest state in the union, Wisconsin. Sorry, like,
and also
to.
They must not know about champagne out there. They must not know. Or Madison, evidently. You're gonna learn today when you come out this direction. Oregon. Oh yeah, Oregon's at Wisconsin. Yeah, you'll find out. You'll find out about what goes on in Madison. So,
Too old for this says AI is making me not know what is real. Yeah, I mean I agree. I was really wondering if it was fake. His face looked a little AI-ish.
That's what I'm wondering. I don't know.
I'll watch it again afterwards. After we're done,
have to watch the face and the words.
You gotta watch the face, especially like if you can see. Now it would work with me because I have the long beard that covers it. But like, if you can see their Adam's apple. The Adam's apple never moves if it's an AI. Right now, I mean, like then like one or two models from now it will. But right now you can tell.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's probably fake, but it looks.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I am not sure about that.
Prince Cap says orange. I mean, listen. Yes, you shouldn't wear orange in Wisconsin, but like his skin is orange.
Well, yeah, maybe it was just a matching thing, and he got some yellow, I guess.
I'm watching this on an iPhone.
It looked more like Oregon's neon yellow that they were wearing on Saturday. So
yes,
not even the right yellow, unfortunately. But anyway,
By the way, it cracks me up. Like, so this is, our show, like we advertise strictly to Packers fans that they should come watch our show. And then we spend half the show doing Packers. And then we start talking about Northern College football, and the number of viewers doesn't change. Zero people dip when we start talking college football.
Yeah,
and I appreciate
crazy.
that. I hope you guys enjoy what we're doing. We have so much fun talking about Northern College football.
It's true. It's true. We're almost at 2 hours.
Prince Capsaicin says, saw a pic of AJ outside the rally. It's real and it's spectacular. I did see people saying that AJ was at the rally. I just don't know if that clip from probably is. Okay. Northwestern, Iowa. I don't think this told us anything about either team. I think Northwestern is still in the Northwestern tier. And congrats, Iowa, on benching Cade McNamara. So
I will say
still got passed by BYU because BYU is playing crazy good now. But
at one point the game was 7-5, and I thought that was
which is the most Iowa.
It was just like, yep, that's what it's like. It's just very much that's what we're doing. So, but yeah, I don't think anybody moves there. Oh, can we get the screen back up?
Oh shoot, sorry. Yeah, I was moving stuff around. You couldn't see it.
I would never get sporty. It's true, unless they play Troy or Northwestern.
Okay, so, I did not watch the BYU game. I wish that I had been able to.
So I will say it was 17-0 pretty quickly, and it was 34-10 with like 13 minutes to go. So it felt like very much a backdoor situation for UCF. They really were never in it. BYU kind of hit cruise control a couple times in that game. So, man, they're cruising right now, and good for them. Good for them. Big 12 was thought of to be Oklahoma State's and Utah's and Arizona's conference, and BYU said, no, thank you. We'll be entering the chat here. So Iowa offensive explosion was definitely AI, says Prince Capsaicin. That's really good. That is a good comment there. But yeah, BYU, I'm not other than where we have them now. Fine. Utah, we gotta talk about it. What is this? What is this? I don't have. Oh, there you go. I've got you now.
Oh, you couldn't hear me?
Yeah, not until you heard it said, but like.
So Utah, I know you don't have a quarterback. Did you lose me again?
No, we're good. Yep, we're good.
Oh, yeah. I know you don't have a quarterback, but you have one of the most respected, long-tenured head coaches in college football, and way too much talent to lose to freaking Houston. Houston is terrible.
Bad.
They are probably the worst team in the Big 12. They just got here from the group of 5. They just made it to a power conference finally. Like, Utah, what are you doing? I am demoting you out of tier 3. I am putting you down. I mean, we're talking.
Have they played West Virginia? I don't think they have. Let me check.
At this point, they're like darn near Wisconsin level.
Yeah, it's just I'm very surprised. They have 21 points the last 2 weeks. Arizona took care of them. Man, this is just, it's not good. They really haven't had, I mean, they won at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State turned out to be a fraud in the Big 12. Arizona took care of them at their place. Utah has really not played anyone yet because their next 3 games are BYU, Colorado, and Iowa State. That's tough. That's tough. And then they finish with UCF. They better not lose that.
I mean, like you saw. Did they play at UCF? Or
yeah,
they're losing that one. I mean, BYU
I think they are
to UCF.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna tough it out for this BYU game. That's gonna be like their last. All right, we're gonna conjure something. We got to show up because it's at home against BYU. They're probably not gonna win it. Probably gonna play closer than many think they will. But man, yeah.
So Utah had 2 goal line stands in this game. They also missed 2 field goals in the first half. And Houston kicks the game-winning field goal as time is expiring, and all the air in Utah's season got let out in that moment.
Can I throw out a comp here? This is like Iowa from a couple years ago and unlucky on top of it. Like, that's what this is right now. They're not closing in these tight games with, it's like they can't figure anything out offensively, and they're losing games now because of it. It's like Iowa, but just the lack of coaching and execution to win the close games. It is frustrating to watch. Not good football.
Forget who it was. One of their star players was asked, do you know what's wrong with the team? And I props to him. His answer was, yes, I know, and I'm not going to talk about it. So props to him for keeping it in house. But they got problems in Utah right now. Frustrations for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for a team, again, coming in, it was kind of like, okay, this is one of the teams in the Big 12. It's like the Big 12 is going to get a bye in the playoff for the conference champ. Maybe it's Utah. To completely flip that, I mean, it's a complete 180, BYU and Utah. Complete 180 from preseason and what was perceived to be. Yeah. So, that's got to be even tougher, right? You're watching your in-state rival just strutting through the conference while you are failing to get it done week to week. That is a tough thing to go through out there.
Killer.
So,
I just think at this point, for the rest of the season, I think Utah's going to have to use a different logo, because if you notice, Houston, by beating Utah, has claimed ownership of doing this intersecting red block font. This is the identical font. Look at the U and the placement of it. So Utah,
and they put an outline, right? Logo. Yeah. And they've got the outline. So
you're going to have to go to your other logo.
Yep. The logo you have next to their name, I think, maybe. But
which is I think a better logo anyways.
It is, yeah.
Okay, West Virginia, Arizona. So this was good West Virginia showing up again. There was a real nice 55-yard touchdown to Trey Ray. That was super fun to watch, and they were pretty darn explosive overall. But the star of the game was Tetro McMillan. Had freaking 200 receiving yards in this game. He was their entire offense. We're going to talk about another team later whose entire offense was one player. I think we all know who we're talking about here. But it was nice to see West Virginia show up again. They've really been one of the more disappointing Northern teams to me. I had much higher expectations of West Virginia than what we're seeing this year, and it's largely been quarterback issues, if we're being honest. But they were playing a different quarterback this week, and the offense was not the problem this week. Kudos to them for going across the country, flying 2 trillion miles and beating up a Southern team. So I'm pretty darn tempted to, for this week, put West Virginia at the top of Tier 4. What do you think?
I think so. I think they've earned it.
A tough win against a Southern team. If that's not good enough to bump you up 2 spots to the top of Tier 4, I don't know what it is.
Right, especially above 2 teams who are trending down. After this past week, again, Syracuse. Yeah, but I'm good with that.
So let's talk about this game, Michigan State. This was I felt a pretty frustrating loss for Spartans fans. But I really felt like Michigan figured some stuff out in this game. And I have been saying for a while, and even like so like in the first half, prior to like the 2-minute warning in the first half, Michigan had like 8 total yards of offense. Like it was bad. And I'm sitting there with a buddy who's a huge State fan, and I said, Michigan has there's only one path forward from here, and I don't know why it's taking them so long to get to this. You need to play Alex Orji on first and second down, and on third down, bring in Davis Warren and have him throw the ball because Orji can't throw it.
Right. This is true.
And Davis Warren can't sustain drives. So put them together and you have one quarterback. Play Alex Orji on first and second down. Play Davis Warren on every single third down. And in the second half, that's what they started doing. And they carved State up. I think that Michigan has found something that is going to work against better teams than Michigan State. They can still run the ball really effectively. Their defense was working even without Will Johnson playing. Now, all this is not to excuse the fact that Michigan State just made some bonehead decisions. All right, they didn't throw the ball at all. They insisted on trying to run it right at Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, which is so stupid. At least run it out to the edge. They wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't attack these cornerbacks. It was so frustrating. And then when they did finally start passing the ball, they moved the ball with ease, but then had horrific clock management. The clock management to end the game absolutely cost them. It was so frustrating watching them burn like 10, 12 minutes off the clock when they needed to score multiple times to have a chance to win it. And I mean, it was just I put the entire loss squarely on coaching. Now, the end of the game then featured a pretty disturbing fight. Anybody who saw that. So the Michigan State player started it, and then Michigan dogpiled on him, and they threw him on the ground, and they were stomping on him and kicking him. So there's that. That was fun. These Michigan State games are never gentlemanly. But you may notice that Michigan has had incidents like this with, I think, 7 teams now in the last 2 years. Trying to figure out what the common denominator is. I think the common denominator is Michigan State, even though it's Michigan having this with Ohio State, Maryland, and all these other teams. But sure, it's Michigan State's fault.
Could be. Interestingly, in the early, like when Harbaugh started there, it always felt like Michigan State would show up to this rivalry as the more disciplined team, right? And wouldn't make the mistakes and played fundamental. And it's just completely obviously flipped in the last few seasons where it just feels like either they're getting just flat out coached or they're making the mental errors.
Well, I mean, obviously the difference there is that you don't have the stability at the head coaching position anymore. You don't have D'Antonio there anymore. You have, this parade of different coaches coming through. And like, I like the current guy. What's his name? Jonathan Smith. I like him. I didn't think he did a good job in this game. Like I didn't think that the play calling made a lot of the game plan for this didn't make any sense. And then like I said, the clock management was horrific and absolutely cost them the game at the end there. This game was right there for the taking. You just needed to move the ball and actually leave yourself time to score. And they're just running it and running it and running it. And like not even hurrying back to the line of scrimmage, like running it and then just standing around and snapping the ball with 2-3 seconds left on the clock. Like, I'm sorry. Am I watching the Green Bay Packers here?
Yeah, exactly.
The Packers, it feels like if they have at least a 3-point lead, they try and kneel out the fourth quarter. Michigan State, you do realize you're down by
trailing
10 right here.
You're trailing in the football game.
You have to score twice.
Yeah.
Why are you lollygagging around? You burned 12 minutes off the clock on your own. It was so frustrating to watch. Yeah. But I do think that Michigan really found a formula here that is going to work going forward. I think they're going to lose to Oregon. I don't think they're going to lose another game this year until.
You think they're going to beat Indiana?
Do they play Indiana?
They do.
I thought they didn't play Indiana.
Yeah, they got Indiana still on the schedule.
I don't know. Like I don't know how I picked that game.
That's gonna be interesting, especially if they like show enough. Where like, okay, if they're like in the Oregon game, we're gonna have plenty to talk about. That's for sure. When that goes down, so Michigan, we're watching. So okay.
Well, this Penn State Wisconsin game the scoreboard doesn't look that close. The first half of the game was pretty darn close.
It definitely felt like this was going to be that one where it was like, okay, Penn State, they've been squeaking by at some points, right? Squeaked by USC after a tough trip, and then it's like, okay, yeah, Bowling Green as well, and it just felt like, okay, Wisconsin's finding it a little bit. They're feeling themselves. This is a night game at home against a big time opponent. They're going to show up for this, and boy, did they! And it felt like Penn State was on the ropes, and Wisconsin was doing everything they needed to stay in this. It's a shame. That would have been a heck of an upset and really a potential massive shakeup in the rankings here if Wisconsin had gotten this done.
Yeah, I have heard a lot of national media folks keep talking about like, Wisconsin can really play spoiler down the stretch here. Like, I mean, they really have an outside chance at making the Big Ten title game. And
they could have just stopped after the first one. They could have just stopped after the first.
I just don't know that Wisconsin's actually going to make any noise against any meaningful teams.
I don't think they're going to. I think this was it. This was like the one where it was like, okay.
And I'm curious to see what direction they go after this game, like as a result of this game. So the entire problem was the offense. There's only one player who even bothered to show up for this game, which was Will Pauling. Nobody else even bothered to show up. So this was just a really embarrassing performance by Wisconsin's offense. The defense, I thought, finally felt like a Wisconsin defense. But like to me, I'm kind of starting to, the Peter Parker meme with the glasses. Like I'm starting to Iowa, Wisconsin with the Peter Parker glasses.
Yeah. Oh.
So we talked a couple weeks ago because Wisconsin had just a dominant offensive performance against somebody. Maybe it was Northwestern. I forget who it was. Dominant offensive performance.
They put up 52 against Purdue and 42 against Rutgers.
Okay, so after those two games, you and I, after the Purdue game, we said, we were like, this version of the Wisconsin offense is here to stay. Like, watch out.
Yep.
And I feel like what we've seen is that the defense, I think, has slipped a little bit, but still feels like a Wisconsin defense after like a really rough start to the season. But like the offense is just not there yet. And I just, I like Luke Fickell, but I don't get the vision here with Wisconsin. Like they're not the offensive vision and the way they recruit and the lack of a NIL foundation. Like you have to play more of an Iowa, Wisconsin traditional style of offense if you're going to recruit the way that Wisconsin recruits. I just don't see how this is going to work.
Yeah. Finishing schedule at Iowa, Oregon, at Nebraska, Minnesota for Wisconsin. So, yikes. They got to 5 wins. Credit. They probably are going to finish there. So I don't know. You Wisconsin or Utah?
I don't know. Like, this is tough. Like
this brings up another interesting point because I saw you moving to the Kansas State game. Does tier 4 need to be split?
No, I don't think it does because
no.
Well, I mean, do we like what these top teams in tier 4 have been doing? Like, Like this really is the bottom tier, and then we have two special insulting tiers because we hate how these two teams are.
That's fair.
But like, has West Virginia actually done anything that like it has been a very disappointing season with them? Like this is the bottom tier. It's just not the cone of shame.
Okay.
That we've reserved for these others.
Okay. I just think that Utah and Maryland a little bit are like hinging on like being in Northwestern's area. Like we're very close to that reality, I think.
You want to put Wisconsin ahead of Utah?
A little bit,
okay
I think.
that.
I
think
just Utah is.
I know Dershow's going to be upset, but I think
Yeah.
it's fair. So what is it, the Sunflower Bowl?
No, Corn Pops.
Yeah, that's right. We're renamed it Corn
We're
Pops.
calling it Corn Pops out here.
So the Corn Pops Bowl, Kansas State. We were interested to see the rivalry game. I thought Kansas, obviously the final score looks pretty good for Kansas. And like the game started out looking really good for them, and then K-State woke up, and Kansas took.
They did the thing.
They took an unfortunate.
They sat forward in the chair.
They did, but then they
State.
took a safety, and I think that was to me kind of the nail of like, I don't know if you can make a mistake like that in this game.
Yeah.
So Kansas State kicks a 51-yard field goal to win the game. And Kansas still had an opportunity to win it at the end. But they turned over on downs. So thrilling game, like everything you'd want from a rivalry game. I think because it is this rivalry game, in-state rivalry game, like I am not holding this against Kansas State at all. Also, probably not giving Kansas a ton of credit for it.
Sure.
I think they kind of belong where they are, but like I do just want to, hats off. Thank you for your service, delivering us such a thrilling rivalry game. Like this is what every rivalry game,
And I'm
anybody
point
who
this
has
out.
No dog in the fight. Like this is what you want.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It was a great game. I want to point this out because I said this last week, I think, after Iowa State narrowly escaped. And I said, I think the top teams in the Big 12 and probably some of the Big 10 teams are going to have these games where they're going to have to find a way to escape. Kansas State found the way to escape. BYU is going to have that game at some point. And I'm not going to hold against them for finding a way to escape. Maybe it's this week against Utah. I don't know. But BYU is going to have that game for sure down the stretch. I'm sure that if Indiana keeps this up, they're going to have that game down the stretch as well. So these teams that are keep going, they're going to have these. And yeah, I'm not faulting Kansas State for it. They survived. They found a way to get it done.
Right.
It's going to happen.
So our final game that we got to look at here is another North on North game, which you love to see. Especially like we're gonna take a look at next week in a second here, and I think we're gonna be extremely grateful for this week of football. Even though, like, okay, it was maybe not the best week of college football we've ever seen, but it's totally like a week from now you're gonna be thinking fondly on this week. So, Cincy, Colorado,
Get out of tier 3.
Colorado,
Cincinnati.
Colorado, bowl eligible.
Yeah.
I thought this was a good performance by Cincinnati, but I think that it illustrated where Colorado is in relation to Cincy. Like there is a gap in the recruiting. For sure. Like, we've had questions about Colorado and their recruiting or lack thereof, but they are in a different tier from Cincy. Now, Colorado, I think for maybe the first time in this year, did a good job of getting contributions from kind of everybody. It was not just Shedeur and Travis Hunter.
Right.
Shout out Evan Pryor, who transferred from Ohio State to Colorado. He had a nice touchdown. Brandon Sorsby was killing it. But Colorado, to me, I think again, like there's just not a ton of teams that
It's
I feel
not a
like
lot of room to move.
moving them. Like you can't move them ahead of K-State.
No.
They lost to Nebraska.
Yeah.
I don't. I would feel mean if I moved them ahead of Illinois. I am happy that they're bowl eligible.
You're running the show. If you feel like it, I mean.
No, listen, I would really struggle to do this show without a co-host, and I already put.
Listen,
Indiana
you're on thin ice next week if Indiana's goes to 2.
Do you
anyway?
You like my Michigan logo here?
I do. I like that. I saw that immediately. I'm like, I know what he's doing here.
Okay.
When I look at
the urge to use a red X for the M because I'm trying to be objective here,
Yeah. That's good.
Except
That's
when I'm
good.
talking about the South.
Right. That's fine. That's part of the bit. I have a question. Do you feel like Cincinnati looks out of place in their tier at the moment?
No, I mean they're right next to Rutgers. And I think that.
Well, then that's what I was gonna say. Do you feel like Cincinnati and Rutgers are a little bit, are a little bit maybe not a little bit of kind of like what are you doing here type of thing with the rest of that tier?
I mean, more than anything, I'm more so considering bumping Washington down to the top of tier 3.
Well, actually, that was another thing. Actually, I thought about bringing up as well as if Washington. It's just kind of like they almost look like kind of like, hey, who let this guy in to tier 2?
I am feeling like there are some gaps that we are not adequately describing. All right, you know what? We could do this. Northwestern lost and got shellacked. We could put them back down in the Purdue.
Oh
tier.
my gosh, Northwestern and Purdue are in the Purdue tier. Heck yeah.
Okay, so we're pretty frustrated with what Utah and Maryland have been doing. I think we can put them in tier 5.
Ooh, spicy. Okay.
Kansas and Wisconsin versus Syracuse and Boston College. So I have no question in my mind that West Virginia is ahead of the other 4.
I agree. Yes.
But I do question a little bit the rest of this ranking. Like this just to me just feels like a pile of like the same team.
So, suggestion is Rutgers, Cincinnati, West Virginia something where you look at those 3 and you go, okay, they're not quite the Michigan pit. And maybe it's more teams in that one where you go, okay, those 3, they're not.
These top 4, Michigan, Pitt, Minnesota, and Michigan State, like they all.
Yes.
Here.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like Washington is there as well.
I think so.
I think Colorado is better than that.
Yeah.
But I'm also like on alert for could Michigan start stringing some wins together here with this new quarterback system. But maybe
they could, but I want to see that.
Make them show us first.
Yes, I want to see it. I like that.
Do you think that tier 1 is correct, or is there a gap somewhere here? Is this actually 2 tiers?
No, I think it's good. I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
So, tier 2, BYU, Iowa, Notre Dame, Nebraska, Illinois, Kansas State, Colorado. Why do we have Kansas State below Illinois? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Did we do that? That doesn't feel right. Kansas State behind Nebraska? Kansas State and Nebraska would be a really fun game.
I agree.
Pitch me why Illinois should be ahead of Kansas State.
I can't.
Pitch me Illinois versus Colorado.
Trenches.
Yeah. I mean, that's clearly the weakness for Colorado.
Yeah. That's my thing.
So Boston College through Wisconsin. Big gap between them and Utah, or are they the same tier?
No, I think Utah and Maryland have been disappointing me to a different degree. I like where tier 5 is at. I do. It's just a question of where Rutgers and Cincinnati go.
Did Cincy and West Virginia play each other? I think they did.
I want to say yes.
They will play on November 9th.
Okay.
That'll be a fun game. That game is at Cincinnati.
It is.
I'm excited for that game. I think we can leave Cincy ahead of West Virginia until that game. By the way, let's look ahead at week 10.
Yeah, let's do that.
So week 10, look at this.
Approach 2.5 hours.
We only have 10 northern.
Yeah.
I'm seeing 12.
12, yeah. 12 games.
There's only 12 northern games this week. So of those, we have a couple north on north teams. Ohio State, Penn State, Minnesota, Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue. Do we want to demote these two out of the north? Are these southern teams now?
No. No. No, demotions are end of season. Demotions are end of season. If you're in the Purdue tier at the end of season, you're demoted. And Boise State's been calling. I have to like block their number.
Season? Yeah, what if at the end of the season
it's like the Premier League?
What if Purdue has kind of put some stuff together at the end of the season and they're no longer in the Purdue tier and it's Utah and Northwestern?
I was about to say I think Utah might join them. Then what do we call it?
No, you'll still be the Purdue tier.
It'll still be Purdue, but Northwestern and Utah are in it. Purdue is relegation.
Oregon, Michigan, I think it'll be fun because it's at Michigan, so Oregon has to travel. Michigan, I think, has found a formula that they now get to test out against a much better defense than what Michigan State had. So I don't think many people are going to be picking Michigan to win this game, but I am interested to see if they can keep it close, and I think they might.
Yeah, I think there's a chance.
It'll all depend on if they can slow down Oregon's offense at all.
Yeah.
If they can't slow down Oregon's offense, then there's just no chance in the world they're going to.
You're going to have a bad time. I would know. Nebraska, we're not worried. If I'm speaking as Nebraska PR right now, we're not worried.
UCLA has lost like every northern team. So like you look at here, you see all these teams that have. And I apologize because these bottom teams, I have not yet filled out their records. I'm sorry for that.
UCLA is like
5 minutes.
It's like playing Fresno State right now. We're not worried about that. We're not worried about that at all.
But UCLA seems to have winning records against the South. It's just USC and UCLA at this point.
Yeah, those guys are like Fresno States. Yeah. Okay, that's what that is. Welcome to the Big Ten, Fresno State and Fresno State. Cool.
Now, if you really like punting, Wisconsin, Iowa is going to be a game for you. I'm probably going to be watching Pitt SMU, frankly.
Yeah, that could be fun. God, that's nice. I don't like that is a conference game. That is disgusting. Realignment should be ashamed of itself that that's a conference game. I hate that so much. SMU should be in the Big 12. I don't understand. I don't like
SMU should be in the Big 12 and
Cincinnati.
And I think Cal
Cincinnati
is a Big 10 team at heart.
Yeah. And Cincinnati's an ACC team. I don't know why. What are they doing in the Big 12? No idea. Why are you there?
But Cincy
Pitt
is scrappy. Cincy is scrappy and the Big 12 is scrappy.
I guess, but Cincy Pitt should be like that's to me that's like that's a conference game. Like we are here, Cincinnati Pitt. That to me like feels that has that feel of a conference game to it.
Maybe, but like Pitt isn't scrappy or crazy. Cincy is scrappy and crazy. SMU is scrappy and crazy. Like those two teams are both Big 12 teams to me.
That's fine. SMU as ACC is just that's very bothersome.
Yeah, that was a miss. SMU should be in the Big 12. Cal should be in the Big 10. Trying to think who else is out of place. Like Missouri really wants to be a Big 10 team, and the Big 10 has zero interest in Missouri's existence. Good. North Carolina is a Big 10 team. They're a Big 10 team trapped in the ACC.
We don't need to bring another Indiana into the conference. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. However, if they were to join, the North Carolina at Illinois basketball game would sell out in about 4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that. There is that going for it. Yeah, Indiana, Michigan State. People are probably going to think that's an interesting game. I think Indiana's going to win by 35. And I'm only saying that because I hope they lose.
Well, I was trying to figure out like what's the perfect slate here. So like obviously you're gonna watch the Ohio State Penn State. That's gonna be the most interesting one for the noon slot. But then at 3:30 you got Oregon, Michigan, but you also have Indiana, Michigan State. Like I kind of want to see both of those.
Yeah.
And then like Pitt SMU is the night game. Like I'm sorry, USC Washington. Like
Washington, we're pulling for you, okay?
I'm sure it's going to be a fun game, but also, like, who cares about USC or Washington at this point in the season?
Whoa. We need to – Washington is a northern team, and USC is a southern team. We need to be backing Washington right now. We need to be backing them, okay?
Yes, but also, like, Pitt is a northern team against SMU.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm saying you can have two – if you got two games to watch, put those two on. Don't watch the Punt Fest where it'll be 6-6 at half, and I will win 27-9. Okay, like that's you don't need that one. We know we already described the game. We already described it. That's the game.
Worst game next week: Northwestern Purdue or Wisconsin Iowa.
Oh, Northwestern Purdue's worse for sure. That's a game. Don't even
Purdue Bowl. It's we're gonna see who's gonna remain in the Purdue tier. If Purdue wins this,
so can I
graduate out of the Purdue tier?
That's what I was wondering. So is the winner out of the tier then?
The winner is out of the tier, and
all
the
right,
has to stay in the Purdue tier, and remains named the Purdue tier.
We need to send this particular clip to the Sickos committee because like that's the perfect selling point, right? Like these are relegation teams. This is a nasty football game. You're watching it because you can't look away. So that needs to be sent to Sickos committee. I'm sure they're already on this one, but yeah.
Well, folks, I want to thank you for sticking around through our college rant. Look at that. We made it to 2.5 hours, and we still have like almost everybody still in the chat. Had hardly anybody leave. The chat died. They quit commenting. I do notice like as soon as we start talking college ball, they stop commenting. Yeah. But the viewership numbers don't change at all. So maybe some of our listeners are just falling asleep. Maybe that's what's going on.
That's probable.
It's probably the Wisconsin fans, frankly. Oh, Rolfs wants to know what the Sickos committee is. Elaborate, Jake.
Yeah. Truly, one of the greater Twitter accounts that you could follow. They watch every game. They highlight like bad games usually. Iowa has been their team of the year, the Sickos team of the year for a long time now. It is really like the epitome of like they're looking at things you probably aren't in college football. And it's really fun because you can tell there's a lot of passion there about it, and they do a phenomenal job. I'm sure they're, like I said, I'm sure they're all over Northwestern Purdue. This week is like, this is a must-watch sicko nonsense. So, very worth the follow.
So, I just realized I deleted. I need you to rant on something because I have to re-upload I made a treat. I made a treat for.
That's good. Halloween's tomorrow.
I accidentally deleted it from our stream, so I got to put it back in the stream. So,
okay,
rant on something for a second while I upload this. This is worth sticking around for. I worked on it.
I'm gonna get to rant again. This is what I'm talking about.
So far, this is a terrible rant, Jake.
Okay. Well, I don't know what I was supposed to rant about. I thought it was like, oh, you need to rant about this.
I don't know. Is there anything we missed from the Packers Lions preview? This clip is about 25% uploaded so far.
Anything we missed about Packers Lions? I mean, other than the injuries, maybe other than Love on Green Bay side, right? That kind of were a little overlooked. see if I can find that really quick. Just because there was a lot going on. A lot of did not participates. Jair, Josh Jacobs, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, Rasheed Walker. That's nice. 3 O-linemen on starting offensive linemen on the did not participate on Wednesday, and then Evan Williams also not participating. Elton Jenkins has a glute injury. I'm sure that's not fun at all. But yeah, when you're two of your best players in the secondary and offensive line are in trouble on the injury report, that is just not a good sign going in. Now, the Lions injury side of things it's pretty full as well, if I can remember. Let's see who did not practice. Jared Goff, they said he rolled his ankle. But they said he'd be back. Let's see, Glasgow, Ragnow, and Reeder all rest days, no injury rest days, but and Zeitler as well. But when you see that Taylor Decker was on the injury report and was not on that rest, big deal. If you can have one of your edge rushers potentially tee off on a backup left tackle. So, yeah, we're monitoring. There's a lot to monitor in terms of the injury reports this week on both sides. So, again, that's just kind of like to me at least, just get healthy for week 11 and on. Like, let's just get healthy because
at the same time we already have one division loss. It would be really nice to avoid another one.
I know, but still can go 4-2, right? 2 Chicago dubs.
I do think we'll sweep Chicago.
They just the fact that they scored 15 against Washington's defense is not a good sign.
Right. That was the teams that to talk about. That was such a hilarious end of the game.
Oh, wasn't it ever?
That was amazing.
I couldn't believe it. And then you realize that the guy who's the quote unquote savior role on Hail Mary defense is the one who's going to tip the ball.
I know.
That's tough.
And he was mocking Washington fans before the game or before
during the play.
During the play, he was mocking Washington fans, and he had there's another clip earlier of him trash talking some Washington fans, and I guess they said that he made a bet with them as well. That's what the fans said.
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough.
As a Bears hater, you love to see it.
You do love to see it. Yes. But like they scored 15 against Washington, right? The only other teams that have scored that low against Washington, you're looking at Carolina, you're looking at the Giants, you're looking at the Browns. Like that is not good company. Okay?
No.
To be looped in with. Like the teams that are competent at the very least, like I know the Bengals aren't having a good year, but offensively, they didn't punt. They didn't punt against Washington and lost the game. So like the fact that the Bears couldn't get anything going against that team, who's also missing Jonathan Allen, by the way, right? It's not like, this team is loaded for bear. They're also, arguably their best player missing. Now, Johnny Newton, big ups over there in the orange helmet, wreaking havoc up front.
Our guy. We love him.
Yeah, but like, man, that's pretty inexcusable, especially now that you're Chicago. You're starting a stretch where you have to play everybody in the division, right? Like
we talked about it ahead of time that Chicago, their offense, has been humming a bit, but you look at the defenses they played, it's a laughable lineup of defenses they played, including Washington. Like Washington's defense has not been good, and they couldn't do anything against it. And we were trying to be fair to Chicago and saying, maybe this is exactly what the doctor ordered. Get some bad defenses so you can go kind of exercise some of your demons on offense.
Yeah,
but you can't even sweep that stretch.
Yeah,
that's not a good sign for what you have going forward. And to your point, you're about to start going through the gauntlet of the division.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, and I think I kind of mentioned this as well. I'm like, don't be surprised if, like, Chicago gets out to a good start because their early season schedule is horrendous. Like, they should be winning a lot of these games. They still have Arizona and the Patriots on the schedule. So they have Arizona this week, Patriots next week. But then in a stretch of 8 games, it's Packers, Vikings, Lions, Niners, Vikings, Lions, Seahawks, Packers.
I mean, how many games do they get? Wins do they get out of that? One?
I don't know, but if the Bears are thinking playoffs, you have to win the next 2. You have to. You have to. You can't lose either of those. If you lose the Patriots at home, you're unserious. You're not making the playoffs. That's just period. You can't lose that game. Okay. Cardinals, weird toss up on the road, whatever, but you still probably have to win it. Like, of those 8 games, Seattle at home, I feel kind of comfortable about it. Defense late in the year when they find it, right? We kind of talked about that earlier. Like, they'll probably find it. Defensively, they'll be able to lock that up.
So hold on. So my model heavily favors them at home against the Patriots. Only slightly favors them at home versus Seattle.
I'm sure they aren't favored in any of the other 7 after the Patriot game.
So it's interesting looking at this. Either way, it's the Seattle-Chicago game is supposed to be low scoring at roughly 21-24. It's giving the Bears about a 62% chance of winning, but they're only favored by 3 points, so which is like kind of a Bears thing.
Yeah,
frankly.
But that finish is insane. They will not play a division game until November 17th.
Chicago at Arizona is a toss-up.
Yeah, that's about right. But again, as we mentioned,
Arizona, DVOA favors Chicago. It evens out to a 56% chance win for Chicago. They're favored by a point.
Yeah. Yeah, they got to win these next 2, especially after they should have lost the Commanders anyway. Commanders went up and down the field. I think Commanders had 400 yards of offense before the Hail Mary, if I'm not mistaken, or they had like 370 before that. So again, Commanders kicked a bunch of field goals. Bears got lucky in the red zone. They didn't break. Probably should have lost that game by a lot more. It shouldn't have had to come down for a Hail Mary for Washington. So it kind of maybe evens itself out with that. But yeah, you're in a position where you have to win the next 2. You have to.
Rolf sends us out with
one really quick, because 11 days you play Packers, Vikings, Lions. 11-day stretch, those 3 games.
That is insane.
Man,
it's brutal.
Buckle up, baby.
Up at the end of that,
yeah, buckle up.
Like, we're gonna find out in a hurry how much depth Chicago.
Yeah. Because I mean, think about the offensive line, man. Guys are getting hurt now. And that was already a fragile unit. Guys are getting hurt now, and that's not good. Listen, Amagaji, awesome, really fun dude. Really cool story come out from Yale. He's not ready to play yet. And again, he's obviously coming off a major injury, but it was still kind of like, yeah, he's got raw movement skills, but like this is more of a 2-3 year projection. If he has to start more games down the stretch, I think the Lions are going to be getting somebody. We already talked about that. Gary, Grenard, whoever the Lions get, probably Nick Bosa, right? Then we're back on that stretch again. It's like, man, no thanks. Caleb, I'm sorry, buddy. You might be running around a lot.
It's going to look like USC out there again.
Yeah, it really could.
Rolf is sending us out with the perfect comment. All is well in Packerland. We have McManus and Willis. Who'd have thunk after where we felt like we were at the end of that final preseason game with the question marks at backup quarterback and starting kicker, that we'd be sitting pretty with like those being basically the least of our questions right now.
Yeah. Like Willis was legitimately a dart throw. Like legitimately a toolsy dart throw, and he just comes in and we're okay. Apply the tourniquet, man.
Credit to Tom Clements and Matt LaFleur
for getting most of
Malik Willis. And
seriously.
And I want to beat the Lions no matter what, and would be thrilled with Love getting a win over them. Like, I would take that. But a Malik Willis win over the Lions would be just beautiful.
Yeah.
That would be icing and cherry on top.
Yeah. And again, check out Thinking Football if you want to see something on the Lions offense. Also, if you want to see something on how Malik Willis' game plan might look on Sunday. Did something on that as well. So definitely check that out.
So you've talked about how we may need to clip some parts of this show.
Yeah.
This next part, I'm hoping is the most clip worthy.
There you go.
I did this for you, listeners.
Send it.
I want to thank you all for tuning in to this almost 3-hour-long live stream.
Not doing this again until the draft.
You know how we like to end our episodes here on Derailed.
Yeah.
We're going to take it to the next level. All right. We're going to get patriotic in here. You ready?
Yep.
I woke up one morning, just a regular schmo. Green Bay was restless, their spirit ran low. The crowd had their pride, but no chance to sing. No anthem or rally to make Lambeau ring. And then it hit Pittman like a spark in the night. A cheer that could lift us, set everything right. A breath of inspiration, I had to let it show. So I shouted so loud, go Pack, go. Well, the fans started roaring, the Lambeau field shook. From the very first moment, that's all it took. Green and gold banners began to wave high, and I swear it felt like we could reach the sky. Oh, go Pack, go, yeah, that's how it goes. The heart of a city, from the highs to the lows. United in spirit, strong as the snow. Ever since I coined it, go Pack, go. Now I'd be lying if I told you I could better thought of stealing a chant some soccer team got. No need for a Viking to borrow a tune. Our cheers got the power of the frozen monsoon. They asked, did you prim it? Did you borrow the line? But that's not my policy, these words are all mine. Now the legends are many and the trophy stacked tall. From Bart, Star to Reggie, we cheered for them all. They say one small praise can change the whole game, and I knew that day I'd be a Packers Hall of Fame name. Oh, go Pack, go! Yeah, that's how it flows. It's more than a cheer, it's a battle cry grows. United in spirit, never getting derailed, not never being tongue-tied. Know that ship has sailed. So when you're there in the stands with the crowd getting loud, remember the phrase that rallied the crowd. With green and gold pride, I'll forever be known as the man who came up with Go Pack, go.